Hey everybody, here we are. It's Wednesday once again, and we're doing the show.
Yep.
You're looking at us again.
That's right. All the regulars are starting to show up, and I want to introduce. We got a VIP in the chat section right now. You'll see somebody in their name, Sumerian Scholar, and that's my boy Austin, and he's a creator here on YouTube. He has the one of the newest, biggest Conan the Barbarian channels, where he talks about Howard's work and then the other stuff like Savage Sword of Conan and the entire thing. And he's a real cool dude. He's a veteran of a mechanized infantry unit. He's younger than me, but he's walked the walk. He's lived the life, and I have adopted him as my son. Yeah.
He's making it official right now.
Right now, I may be on his show. We're talking about doing a show together on his channel to do a live stream over there. It'll probably be something military, male interest type stuff. It could. We haven't really decided what it's going to be.
It'll be good.
Yeah, it might be Conan related. It may not be. We'll see.
But yeah, hey everybody. This should be a fun show. Like, slightly, well, I'm not going to say slightly less depressing than because, usually we do true crime and shit like that. But it's just kind of like, this one, the cult shows are always really fun to do because they're always like super ridiculous. And this one is no exception. There's lots and lots of stuff to make fun of. I mean, I will say ahead of time that, yes, there is a child death and child abuse involved. And obviously, if you have problems with eating disorders, you might find this a bit triggering, perhaps. But overall, I think this will be like a lot more fun show than the true crime ones tend to be. Although, I don't know.
You're already talking about her hair.
I kind of get yeah. I think I said this like at the end of the movie review that we did Monday when I announced what the show was going to be about. And I said, with the crazy fucking hair, man, what is... Yeah. And she's not the only one, because a lot of these Christian fundamentalist kind of speakers and stuff like that, the women all have just ridiculous large hair, and I'm not really... I mean, it's a choice, okay? I'm not shaming them or anything like that. I'm just saying, I'm wondering why. Now, in her case, I saw like a couple other documentaries about this, and a couple other YouTubers talked about her. And a couple other people did point out that perhaps, yes, I know that there is kind of the joke that, the higher the hair, the closer to God kind of thing, which that could be at play here. But I think that in her case specifically, because this was essentially started as a weight loss cult and like evolved into a religion, quote unquote.
In the loose sense of the word.
In the loose sense of the word.
We'll get into that in a bit.
I think maybe she wanted, because as she actually had normal-ish hair for the era, it was a little over the top, but not any more than a lot of other people that you saw back then. But as she got more and more unhinged, I felt like the hair got bigger and bigger. And I think it was possibly, she thought that her hair being bigger would make her head and her body look smaller.
Make her look skinnier.
Because she also wore these big, ridiculous, like, high-heeled shoes, like big, chunky... Which I like those too, and they do actually make your legs look longer. They're super uncomfortable, though. Yeah. So I get that. But, like, hey, and I'm not shaming a bitch, like I said. I like tease hair as much as the next girl. That
belongs on a goth girl, though.
Yeah, I mean, goth girls look really good with teased hair. And like I said, I used to do it. Like, a lot of when my head was shaved, like, underneath, I would, like, kind of pull it back and kind of tease it all back here. Yeah. I don't really do that much anymore because it's not shaved. And also, it's a bitch, like, to get it out the next day because it's just all knots.
I shaved your first goth undercut into you, didn't it?
Well, no, because I had one for many years, like, before I met you.
Yeah, and then so it grew out. Clippers, so I dove in there and
I used to just do it myself, or I think I got my ex-husband.
I got some cool pictures of her fucking with the goth undershaved long black hair with the long fake sideburns that go
hair. I had that for a while. I do like that look. But I'm kind of in my Morticia era, so I'm kind of I'm just going to do long hair until I get sick of it, and then I'll probably just go back to shaving it all off again.
Because we're watching Farscape.
We're in Florida, y'all. It's hot.
Yeah, we were watching Farscape and fucking went off into air and fucking hair. Going like, man, that's some gorgeous hair. And that fucking whole series was got this shit, all 90s, fucking late 90s. And it was just a beautiful series, and I was going like, Jen, you should have hair like that. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to do hair like that.
Yeah, I totally
will. Yeah, shit looks great.
CB said, "Oh, Jenny, she had to hide her horns." Oh,
Hide her horns, all right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen all kinds of shit about, like, people making jokes about what she's fucking hiding under there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the first time I've heard that one. That's pretty
Did some
good.
research on this. Watched a documentary on
Yeah,
it.
there's
watch even more.
If you have HBO Max, there is a 5-part docuseries called The Way Down.
Yeah.
And it's really good. It's pretty in depth. Crazily, they made the first 3 episodes, and then, spoiler alert, she and 6 other church leaders died in a plane crash in 2021. And at that point, they were like, well, shit, now what do we do? But they did actually make 2 more episodes kind of about, like, people that left the cult and what they had to say about it and shit like that. And then later on, they did edit, like, footage of the plane crash, like, into the beginning of the things. They're like, look, we know that she died, and we're talking about this now.
Yeah, this whole case, this is some weird shit. And
yeah, it's crazy.
At the root of this is the South.
It's a very Tennessee-based.
Yeah.
I've been to Tennessee a few times. My father's side of the family was from there.
Yeah, we're both kind of products of the South. My family for generations were from Mississippi on my dad's side. My mother's side was actually from Virginia, but they moved out to California. That's where my parents met before I was born. So, and I've been all over the world, but still, there's just the South is a great place in many ways, but it has some idiosyncrasies about it.
There's some weird shit going on.
And one thing about the South is religion.
Yeah.
Christianity of the South is nothing like Christianity anywhere else in the world. We got somebody here from England right now. When I say Christianity, if I say that in the South, it means a very different thing than, say, versus England or even New England in the northwest of the United States. Even up there, their interpretation of what religion and Christianity is very different. The South is extra canonical. It doesn't really have much to do with what's actually written in the Bible. It's a bunch of cultural stuff. And it is all about Jesus. It is Jesus to the fuck out.
Although this is an exception, which we'll get into.
Well, it starts getting to where, well, shit, you've been talking about what would Jesus do, what would Jesus eat. It could go that far.
Yeah. This one was specifically not Jesus-y, though.
Yeah.
And like I said, she got into, I don't want to say she got in trouble for it, but she got into some hot water because she had, quote-unquote, like, heretical beliefs, which we'll get into. But, like, it's very much not Jesus. It's very much God, 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 this, that.
Okay, but I was just talking about the Southern religions in general.
Very Jesus-y.
And they're all very homemade. I could get some money together and build a church and go in there and say I was a Baptist or a Christian minister and just kind of do whatever I wanted to do. If it was popular in the market, I'd have a lot of people in my church and I'd make a lot of money.
It's exactly what she did.
It is very much a thing of entertainment. It is very much a thing of tribal allegiance, too.
Not a lot to do down here.
Not a lot, when I was a little kid in Mississippi, sometimes, because I actually would just go there for the summers where my dad lived. My parents divorced. I would go to Mississippi for the summers. I'd be out swimming. Little kids ask me what church I went to. I says, I don't go to church around here. And they go, oh.
Yeah, it was considered, like, I grew up in Florida.
What church you went to was very important.
Yeah.
They were like tribes.
I grew up in Florida, so it was slightly less because there was like more people from kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's still, I grew up in Daytona Beach, which is real rednecky, so it was just kind of like, it's not as rednecky as it used to be, but it's still pretty rednecky.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, there was a contingent of people for sure that were like that. Although it was less so, I think.
Yeah, I'm a Christian, but I don't really go to church. Like, oh, you're one of those. Okay.
Although I remember,
gotta get shunned.
Even in Florida, like when I was in college, I remember being in a humanities class, and they were talking, or a sociology class, I think it was, and they were talking about, different religions and different, and then they were talking about atheism and how much of a percentage that was, and they were like, I don't remember if somebody found out that I was an atheist, and they, people were saying, legit, that that they should not exist. Why, Like, they wanted me dead.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I was like, cool. That's cool.
The way the culture of the South is going back for hundreds of years, all you got to do is just look at Southern literature and things like Southern Gothics. A Southern Gothic tale has religion in it. It has the supernatural in it. It has black people with supernatural powers in it, or people selling their souls to the devil, and people from Haiti that are in the South, or people with Haitian backgrounds that could do voodoo. And the South has a certain amount of leeway to it, to where you can take Christianity and kind of do whatever you want with it. You can even mix it with Judaism. Like, you would have Christians that would also have crosses, but they would also have Star of Davids on there because they might have to get Old Testament on your ass. That was the weird thing.
I feel like this one did that slightly. This slightly. Not to that extent.
If shit wouldn't work out, they couldn't justify something they'd want to do in the New Testament. We're gonna go back to the Old Testament and get primitive on you.
We're gonna find something in here that justifies what we wanted to do anyway.
Right. And I've even come across some military background kind of guys who are really good at like fucking doing tactical analysis and strategic analysis of what's happening between like geopolitics. But the guy's living on a farm and he's Southern in that way, and he'll fucking start throwing out old Hebrew phrases, And it's like, wait a minute, hold on, are you Christian or are you Jewish? Well, there were some Christian churches here in the South going all the way back into the 1800s that thought that you had to be Jewish before you could convert to Christianity. That was some wild shit.
Well, I mean, from my point of view, coming at it as like not having a dog in the fight, I was not raised religious. I'm not religious by any stretch of the imagination. I do know quite a bit about it because I think it's interesting. But to me, that point of view doesn't seem all that wild because Christianity did grow out of Judaism. Yeah. So it's almost like that is like the least weird belief you could probably have.
Well, they were kind of using Jesus as a role model. They're saying, well, Jesus was Jewish. But then he got a new religion from the Lord. So you have to be Jesus' religion, which is a Jew.
Yeah.
And then you now have to become a Christian. So there was a ceremony.
Yeah.
But like I think all that's gone. That was 1800s.
In the context of all of it, which to me just is all mythology, that seems like to make the most sense.
Yeah.
Because at least you're kind of following
what Jesus did.
What supposedly really happened.
That's what they're doing.
So that makes more sense to me than some of the other crazy shit.
Even though none of that shit happened.
Well, no.
It's a Roman religion.
It's in it. But you know what I mean. I said, like, in that universe.
In that universe.
It makes sense in that universe.
Exactly,
that's what I meant.
Exactly.
Like, obviously, it's not real. But it's like, you know what I mean?
It's like a bunch of fucking comic book fanboys. You know what I mean?
They're
trying to figure out, well, look, this is Star Wars.
That's how I look
over
at
there
it.
Isn't Star Wars. Just this is Star Wars. Oh, but the Mandalorian season 1 and 2. Yeah, okay, that's Star Wars. We can take that.
Yeah, I kind of look at it.
They're doing that.
Well, it is the same thing.
Same fucking thing.
To me, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Not to denigrate either thing. I'm just saying it's the same thing.
It just is what it is.
We're storytelling animals.
It's fanboyism.
That's what we do.
It's nerdy fanboys.
Yeah.
Going over the fucking over what's canon. That's not canon. That's not Superman. That's not real Superman. That's fanfic.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Funny. We got a super chat from Zach.
What's up, Zach?
Thank you very much. It was a while back.
Yeah.
Early as fuck, but show idea. Controversies involving the artist Lisa Frank. That actually might be good. I don't know a huge amount about it, but I kind of heard some shit around the periphery. So that actually might be a good. So I did write it down. So I'll put that in one of the polls, and we'll see. We'll run it up the flagpole and see how that flies. Yeah, Gramther says, when I lived in North Carolina, in the rural swamp, there was a church where people spoke in tongues and handled the serpents as part of Sunday. So yeah, there's a lot of those down here too. There's like I don't know about a lot, but it's not uncommon. That's a pretty Southern Baptist.
Southern religion is paranormal
type of thing. Oh yeah, big
paranormal, and there's elements of the occult in it. Oh, they even drinking poison and dancing with snakes. That's way up in Appalachia, but it's similar. Superstitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to me, like because the whole drinking poisons and handling serpents thing.
Yeah.
That came from just like kind of I want to say it's kind of like an offhand. I can't remember like off the top of my head exactly what the verse is, but it's basically just an offhand kind of comment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they kind of took that and make like the whole fucking thing around it. I was like, you guys just wanted to do that anyway.
Probably.
I mean, come on.
Well, you could bring some people into a tent revival with that.
Well, yeah.
Dude, you got to go in there. They believe in that shit so much they're drinking poison and handling fucking rattlesnakes. Well, shit, let's go see it. Let's go see it.
That's
you
what
got to
I mean.
pay to get in. You got to donate. Okay, let's go see the show. And then they're fucking dancing.
I mean, I wouldn't pay to see it.
They would back then. There wasn't any television.
That's true. They didn't have.
Yeah, they didn't have television. Yeah.
They're like, we didn't even believe this shit. It'll just be funny to watch them drop dead, maybe.
Yeah.
But
there were girls. Let's be honest. There were girls in there.
Yeah, like I said,
girls were in there, so
I kind of
let's
feel
go.
like because, and I think like a lot of people in other countries, particularly in European countries, like ask like, what is the deal with like all of the crazy religions in the United States? Honestly, I think it might be partially capitalism. Competition. It's just that if you started a religion, you know, we have freedom of religion. You can start whatever religion you want, like as long as you're not like hurting other people.
We didn't have a state-run religion.
Yeah,
in Europe they did.
Gonna bother you.
So they had a monopoly on it.
So you could start your own shit, and so if you start your own shit, then you have competition with other churches that started their own shit. So you have to make it like glamorous.
Yeah.
You have to bring people in like to give you money.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you have to have something the other ones don't have. So like I said, there's like capitalist like competition.
Yeah.
So that's why we have so many, and that's why some of them are kind of crazy because they're trying to, you know, draw in people that will hand their cash over.
Yeah, old school European countries had their own state churches, or it was the Catholic Church, which was official, or Greek Orthodox. The U.S. didn't have that.
We never had that.
We never had a state church, so
that's why
it was never entwined with the government or government authority. So in the United States, it
was just a free for all.
It fell into the same venue as entertainment.
Yeah.
So it was theater.
Yep.
Theater, it was like a traveling circus or a theater or your local theater. There was no television, so it was kind of like television.
So you had to have a better show than the next guy.
So you had to be better than the other guy. You had to. You had to put on a better show, or you had to be more pious, or you had to be more forgiving, or you had to offer something.
You had to have some kind of angle.
You had to have an angle.
The other ones
and if you went, you had a choice as a consumer, as an American consumer. This is going back to the 1700s. If you went to that church, he goes, I don't like this church. He goes, we'll go to the other one across the street. They have better
They're
music.
everywhere.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
They still are.
So they're all competing. And that's how it happened in Rome. Ancient Rome was like that too. Big business was religion, but they even had sex in their churches because they're worshiping the milk god or Dionysus, and some churches are some Roman churches about getting drunk. So you know what I mean.
That's the kind of church I would join.
Yeah. So what happened is
not that I would ever join.
And then there's music and shows and magic tricks and shit. So it's now entertainment mixed with club life.
Yeah.
And just whatever.
You're drinking and watching magic shows.
Watching shows and dancing. Right. So it's entertainment.
Yeah, sure. Praise Jesus.
So
whatever.
America's a lot more true to the Roman Empire, in certain cases.
Yeah, because everything's just like I said.
It's more like entertainment.
KB Viscom. I'm not going to say that every single time. Are there Roman Catholics in the U.S.? Yes. Yeah. There are pretty much
everybody's here.
Every denomination of anything that you could think of, including some that you didn't think of because we just made them up, are also here. You can find any denomination in the world.
Yeah, the South is
somewhere in the United States.
The South is not very Catholic. It's the South. The South of the United States is Protestant. It tends to be Baptist.
Baptist is the largest contingent.
Yeah, and Baptist makes more sense for the South because, and it's mostly mythological. These churches are making up their Baptist faith out of nothing, really. John the Baptist was a guy who went through the wilderness and ate locusts. He was a wild man. He's crazy. He was the one that was calling Jesus, knew that Jesus was coming. And then when Jesus showed up, he actually baptized Jesus. And then Jesus said, yeah, this guy here, he's okay.
He's that right.
He's a man of the wilderness. Well, the South is rural. So that's a pretty good angle for a preacher. I'm like John the Baptist in the wilderness. Jesus has come, you know what I mean? So it's very more country and more outlaw. It's an outlaw Christian religion. In the mythos, the Baptists converted to Christianity after Jesus came, and they predicted him. So look, they must have massive wisdom if they predicted Jesus.
Yes, they were obviously better.
So you come to my church, I'm predicting all kinds of shit that's going to happen after Jesus. So this is lore. If you're into comic books and video game lore and movie, this is the same fucking thing. And it's not bad. It's just the way the human mind works.
Yeah, like I said, we're just storytellers.
Storytelling.
We relate to things better if it's told to us in story form, and and that's just kind of how it works.
And that's where this chick's coming from.
And and to be
like
honest,
this.
much like many other religions and cults, because I will say I do believe this particular sect is a cult.
They all are.
I mean, they all are, but I mean, in the standard definition of what we would say is a cult.
Cults have a negative fucking connotation, but it's not really. All religions that are small and unofficial and kind of handmade are cults. Doesn't mean it's bad.
Well, I would argue that a lot. Well, this one's bad for sure.
Yeah, they can't be bad because you give one man a bunch of power. It's probably gonna go bad. It tends to be he takes all your money, he fucks your wife, and he takes your daughter. That is actually.
This was a different kind of thing.
It's a woman, but you know.
Well, and I think she was coming at it from. I mean, she was power hungry for sure. Scamming people out of money for sure. Giving people horrible mental issues for sure. But I was gonna I had some kind of point I was gonna make, and then I forgot what I was gonna say.
You fucked
Well, no, because you interrupted me when I was
sorry.
in the middle of it, and I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, so I don't know. Oh, what I was gonna say is that most cults, and some religions also. Actually, most religions probably will tell you that, we're the only one that's true. You know what I mean? That's a pretty common aspect. And this one had that big time. Like, we're the only ones. One of the reasons, in fact, that she called her church that she started later, because the weight loss thing was first, and then that kind of segued into the church as it became. One of the reasons she called it Remnant was because it was a reference to, how it says in Book of Revelation about, it's not so much the rapture, but it's just kind of like there's only going to be so many people left on earth that they're like the remnant, like the true Christians or whatever. She was trying to make an association to that. So that's why she called it that. Because I think she called her publishing company that before she even started the actual church. But yeah, it's fucking.
Everybody in the comment section from across the earth is fucking agreeing that they make shit up as they go along, and everybody wants their own fucking church and their own religion. Yeah.
Well, it's a good way to make some cash. Even L. Ron Hubbard said that.
Yeah.
As Gramthers pointed out, two big religions invented in the U.S: Mormonism and Scientology. And
Scientology is American as shit.
And
you know what?
More
American than that.
I feel like I don't know, because when I was researching this lady and this cult in particular, I was like, man, she sounds like, and I know that like a lot of cults have just similarities across the board, you know what I mean? So it might not be that she just specifically studied Scientology, but I did see an interview with her son, who was, a grown-ass man, and he has left the church, and he did say that she studied Scientology. I was like, what, was she looking for fucking ideas? Like, I guess she was. I don't know. So, because some of the shit in here is very Scientology-like. We've done multiple shows about Scientology because if you're new here, I actually used to live in Clearwater, which is like Scientology Central, and I worked for a company that was owned by Scientologists. It wasn't a Scientology, it wasn't a church or anything like that. It was just a publishing company. They didn't publish anything to do with Scientology. But it just happened that it was owned by a bunch of Scientologists worked there, and that was the freakiest fucking shit ever. Like, I only worked there for 8 months, and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. No thanks. So, because, I did not like that experience at all. So I got kind of fascinated with it. And so we've done a bunch of shows. We interviewed like the Angry Gay Pope, and
he's been talking to me lately. Fucking
who's like a very famous like Scientology protester.
He got his channel back.
His channel got pulled like for a long time.
Yeah, it's back now. And he got all his old videos. He did so much fucking good work with fucking Scientology.
He's hilarious.
But have him back on as a guest.
But yeah, we've had him on like 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. And I got like, this is coming at it from like kind of a evangelical Christian lens, but some of the shit they do is similar to like what Scientology does. But like I said, cults across the board kind of use the same, whether they intend to do it or they just stumble upon shit that works, because the same shit tends to work. You know what I mean? So
humans haven't changed much.
Yeah.
The same thing
So
works over
so
and
I
over.
feel like a lot of cults have like similarities to them
Yeah.
because the same shit works on people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sadly.
It's just there's fewer and fewer of them.
Yeah,
think
well,
that's part
like
of
I
it.
said, I kind of feel like most, and Scientology in particular, I think they really never recovered from one South Park making
South
fun
Park
of them,
album,
and people actually, them actually telling like what they actually believed because I think a lot of
Yeah.
people didn't know that. I
didn't
knew
realize how
because I
they-
had worked there, but you know what I mean,
Yeah, they didn't know how ridiculous it was.
right?
They didn't know if it was a UFO cult. That's really,
I mean, it kind of is.
yeah, it's a UFO cult.
It kind of is.
Although I will fucking L. Ron Hubbard. I will defend L. Ron Hubbard the same way I'll defend Tom Cruise. L. Ron Hubbard was a talented man of kind of like average means who came up with a really good way to make himself pretty rich, and
Yeah, it worked.
and he was when it came to cult leaders, him personally was one of the better ones. He was not sexually abusive to his flock.
Which
They
it's a low bar, but
They usually
most
do.
of them are.
They usually are. And the people in the cult loved him. He would tell all kinds of stories, go down the freeways on the boat and tell stories and point up at fucking planet stars and go, yeah, that's Zeta Reticuli G, and he'll tell you the whole history of their star empire. He was making up Star Trek in his own mind.
Well, he was a sci-fi writer.
He was a sci-fi writer. Yeah,
He just wasn't making enough money doing that, so
Yeah.
he's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna start a religion."
And he was surrounded by these little hot little cabin girls and shit. And wasn't screwing them, which a lot of cult leaders would be. They loved him.
Well, yeah, that's usually the whole reason for
That's
them
the whole
starting
reason.
the cult.
Usually
well,
it's
that
sex and money.
That making money
Sex and money. That's usually what it is.
and having access to all.
But
all
in
the
a
women
weird
and
way,
girls.
I think L. Ron Hubbard was, in a weird way, a true believer. He died
He might have
trying
been.
to talk to alien souls and to exercise himself. From
I don't think he
alien
was
souls.
at the beginning. I think it was a pretty.
He talked himself into believing it.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty cynical cash grab in the beginning, which most of the time they are.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if you have enough people, kind of polishing your knob and like
and
talking,
you're getting rich.
and you're getting rich off it, like
Yeah.
it becomes a lot easier to buy into your own bullshit. And I think
Yeah.
that does happen. So I think a lot of them do become true believers
He thought
without realizing it.
He thought Scientology worked because it did work. He built an entire empire on it. It worked for him.
Work for him.
Worked for him, but it didn't work for anybody else, really.
I mean, unless you like being thrown in a trailer
Yeah,
for weeks at a time.
and he did die miserably.
That's true.
Interesting dude. We did a lot on him.
Yeah, like
Out
I
of
said, we've
cult
done
leaders-
several shows about
Out of the
him.
cult leaders, I'd give it to L. Ron Hubbard as him being the best one.
I mean, like I said, it's kind of like being king of shit mountain, but you know what I mean. As far
He
as
was
that
still
goes.
pretty good.
Yeah,
he was pretty
I was
good.
like, but like I said, I've read,
His organization fucked a lot of people over.
against my will because
Yeah.
I worked at this place
Yeah.
that made you the first half hour of every workday you had to take
Yeah.
classes,
Yeah.
which were like his ridiculous ideas on like how to run a business and stuff.
Yeah.
And so you're just like reading this shit every day. I'm like, what the fuck is this dude's problem? Like, oh my god, I got like just so fucked. Because I just read like way more of his shit than I.
The
ever
beautiful
wanted to.
thing about it is that he was Walt Disney of fucking American religion. He tried to
That's
take.
a good way of putting
Yeah,
it.
he's like, if there could be an American religion, what would it be? Well, it would be anti-communist. It would be a corporation. It would be. You would be leveling up in it. I'm making you a fucking wizard.
Unlimited growth.
Unlimited growth.
That was a
It
big
would be getting rid of fucking things that aren't your problem, like the alien souls that have attached themselves to your souls. Just it was
Hate when that
fantastical.
happens.
He was a fucking talented bullshit artist. Very talented bullshit, and he's just bullshitting his way through this thing, and he's making a system out of his bullshit, and
Yeah.
he's writing books and selling them, and people are believing it.
Well, and there's plenty of people, sadly,
Yeah.
that will buy into it.
yeah,
So just like this kind of shit here.
yeah.
Which I don't know. I don't understand. I don't mean to like shit on people that are genuinely vulnerable and they really need help, and it's like this is the only place where they think they're getting it, and that's the only place where they feel like they have community or whatever. But it's just kind of like, it's just how fucking sad is it that you end up in this kind of shit? You know?
You don't have any other resources.
I know. It's just, it makes me
Yeah.
so sad. It makes me so sad. And honestly, it doesn't really have anything. It doesn't have much of anything to do with intelligence, because very intelligent people get sucked into cults all the time. I don't. Like I said, I don't think. I think we've had this discussion before, but it's like I don't think it's necessarily intelligence. I think it's just more.
It's an emotional.
It's an emotional thing, and it's
an emotional emptiness.
And a lot of people don't really have good bullshit detectors.
Yeah. They want to believe that they're special and there's a special way to help them.
Yeah, which like everybody does. I get that.
A spiritual need, which I don't really know what a spiritual need is.
I've never felt that ever, so I don't know.
But there are some people that constantly need to have some kind of a religion. I don't know if it's upbringing or genetics. I never had to have a religion. I liked philosophies and codes. But me and my boy Austin, he'll tell you that we lived by a code, but it was a military code. But it's very practical, you know. It's basically protect your friends, destroy the enemy.
Which to me seems very obvious. Like, you don't really need anybody to tell you that, I feel like.
Right.
That's why I'm not a big advocate, and I kind of want to get into this a little bit when we talk about her, because she started out, I mean, she was like super religious from the jump, okay, which we're going to get into, and she came at it from that angle, but she was coming at it at first from a self-help angle, like with the weight loss thing. And I know that self-help shit, like books and stuff, like does help people, so I'm not shitting on the, you know, the entire industry or whatever, but it's just kind of like, I always kind of felt like, you know, look, I got problems, everyone's got problems. But the thing about it is that I feel like most of the time, some motherfucker that made a few $1 million off a book doesn't know shit about you, okay? They don't know shit about you. I don't think they can help you. Like, I'm not saying one-on-one therapy can't help you, because that person's actually interacted with you face-to-face and, like, knows you and shit. But it's like, I think you just, like, buying a book or just, like, watching some bitch on a video or something like that, I don't know how helpful that's going to be, like, in the long term, because they don't know you. You know what I mean? And you don't really have a real connection with them in that sense. So, I don't know. So, I'm always kind of skeptical of self-help shit. And I'm really skeptical of self-help shit when it's coming from a religious angle, because now, and particularly in this case of you know, Gwen Shamblin's case, she's coming at it from starting with weight loss, which, okay, fine. Like, you know, everybody wants to lose weight and shit like that. And, you know, everybody and their mama, like, makes money off diet books and shit, because people are always looking for that one thing that's going to be easy and works. But her framing the weight loss as a religious issue, I feel like is problematic, like, in a lot of ways. Because she is equating thinness with righteousness, with holiness. Yeah. So therefore, if you are not thin enough, then there's something wrong with you. You are sinning, and you know that has to be fixed. And like I said, I'm not castigating people for wanting to lose weight, like for their health and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, good for you. But it's just kind of like, this I don't think is the way to go about it, because she caused so many fucking eating disorders. She herself, I believe,
looks like bulimia,
had an eating disorder. And if you've seen her daughter Elizabeth, who runs the church now, I hate to like a parent shame, but the girl needs help. Okay, she is clearly anorexic, and I had a relative who was anorexic when I was a teenager, and I know what that looks like. She is clearly anorexic. She has had some very weird plastic surgery. She doesn't even look like a person anymore, really. I don't, but it's like, you know, you can see her like Elizabeth Shamblin. Right. Elizabeth Shamblin Hannah is what her name is. And I'm not blaming her, because the girl was raised by this psycho, and also she had a baby die. Her mom and her husband died in that plane crash. And now she got suckered. I don't know if she got suckered into it, but it's like she was raised in this crap.
She inherited that empire.
And she inherited this whole empire. Yeah. And I think she's not okay. You know what I mean? And it's kind of sad. Like I said, Gwen's son, Michael, he got the fuck out of there. I don't think he's okay either, but he's coming at it from a different angle, which I'll get into. But it's like, at least he got out. And he's kind of pretty dead set about, like, not taking them down necessarily, but just telling everybody about
Yeah,
it, like about how
this shit.
dangerous it is.
Yeah.
But like I said, he's clearly got some issues as well, which is really sad. And like I said, I feel bad for both of them because they were raised by this lunatic and they didn't know any different, like, for their whole lives. And that's, like, really sad to me. I mean, I guess you could extend that to say, well, Gwen herself didn't really have a choice either because she was raised in a super, super fundy Church of Christ background. So she didn't know any better either. So it's like 3 generations of this crap that we know of.
So it's what happens when a bulimic grows up being in a Christian cult. She's going to reinterpret her bulimia in a Christian sense of like getting fat as sin.
And I feel like, and I've
Which
seen...
there's enough there in Scripture you could probably rig that up. Gluttony.
Well, she did.
Yeah, gluttony. What they're gonna
And
say.
the thing about it is, I kind of feel like, and I've heard other, like, YouTubers and other people on documentaries, like, bring this up, is that it's honestly, I believe that Gwen had an eating disorder herself and decided she was going to take all of this self-hatred that she had about the way she looked, which we'll get into that. She wasn't fat, okay? And she just decided she was going to inflict it on other people and made a whole ass religion out of her eating disorder and then added like a whole bunch of other crap onto it that she got from her Church of Christ upbringing. So, I don't know. It's just a crazy, sad situation all around. I feel bad for them, but it's like, I don't know. Once you get to a certain adult age, I'm just kind of like, well, I think it's about time you need to figure shit out for yourself. You know what I mean? At least, like I said, Michael got out. But like I said, he seems really angry and really bitter. And I don't think he's getting there, but I think he's really kind of not okay.
So how did this shit start?
All right. So, like I said, if you have not seen the HBO Max series, which is called The Way Down, God, Greed, and the Cult of Gwen Shamblin, which came out in 2021. Like I said, the first 3 episodes were before she died because they were working on it, and then she died in a plane crash, and then they made the last 2. Please watch that. It's really good. Also, there's a bunch of YouTubers, like Jen over at Fundy Fridays did like an 1.5-hour breakdown of this, which was great. Not the Good Girl did one that was also really good. So there have been like a couple of other YouTubers that have talked about this nut. So let's talk about a little bit about Gwen. Now, like I said, she was actually born Gwendolyn K. Henley, and she was born in Memphis, Tennessee. Like I said, this is a very Tennessee-based cult. She pretty much lived there her entire life. She had houses, well, once she got wealthy, she had houses in other places as well, including she had a beach house in Destin, Florida, matter of fact. And she was born into, like I said, very, very, very conservative religious background, Church of Christ. And her dad, I think, was a surgeon. And basically their whole upbringing was... So, like I said, I don't think this chick had a chance, honestly. Because Church of Christ, very much biblical literalism, baptism to be saved. They actually baptize adults, not children. So that's kind of something. No dancing, no drinking, no musical instruments even. Like, you could sing, like human voices were okay because that was in the Bible.
Yeah, no instruments.
They were very, very strict about, like, everything in the Bible is, like, literally true, which I don't know how people work around that because there's so many contradictions in there.
Yeah,
but,
and why is it you have to have what they had? There's no command. There's no commandment or anything to there's no... It doesn't say you can't progress. It's just weird. They were trying to do what Jesus did.
That's what I think is weird. It's like...
Yeah.
I mean, if you come at it from the point of view of, the Bible is inerrant, which, like I said, isn't possible because there's contradictions all over the place, because it was written over centuries by different people.
Yeah.
From different traditions and different stories that they were picking up from other places. So there's obviously no way that it could be entirely correct. But anybody that does that, like I said, I kind of feel like all religions, to a degree, are just cherry picking the shit that they wanted to do anyway.
Yeah, what they want to do anyway.
So you're going to get people that are just very, very strict and very, very, I don't know, just stick in the mud. And it's like this. So they're just like looking for a justification for why they're being the way they are. But like, so Church of Christ is generally, there's other, there's little factions of it, like there are of every religion. But like I said, they're very much like the Footloose cult, like no dancing allowed. Women have to be submissive. The whole like women are not allowed to speak in church or be leaders or anything like that.
Even though I think Jesus danced.
Yeah, but like I said,
Yeah,
they're just picking up shit that they're just fun police, and they think anything. If you're having a good time, then obviously you're doing something wrong. And they're just like looking for some way to justify why why nobody wants to invite them to their parties, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just weird.
I don't get it.
It's just weird.
Like I said,
nowhere does it say you have to do exactly what Jesus did. In any of that.
Yeah, I don't really think it says. I mean, I read the Bible a long time ago, but just out of curiosity.
No, I don't think.
But
it says
I don't
you have
remember
to do
it.
what Jesus did.
I don't remember it saying nothing like that.
That's preachers saying that.
Yeah, and they're interpreting it in a way that they're either interpreting it because they're, like I said, shitty people that want to be like that, or they want other people to think they can control them.
Yeah.
Which I think is usually the case with pastors or anybody running a cult like this.
Well, some are so extreme, you can't have electricity.
Yeah, you have those like the Amish and stuff like that. Did the Mennonites do that too?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if they're quite as extreme as the Amish.
And
and like I said,
Mississippi all the time, Mennonites.
Yeah, like I think that's kind of more like the Amish are more kind of like Pennsylvania.
Clothing. And they couldn't cut hair, but they could have cars.
Yeah, they always had like workarounds.
Yeah, they have cars.
But they couldn't have computers or nothing like that.
Maybe, I don't know.
And no,
I'm not sure they have television.
No. It might be different now, I'm not really sure. But yeah, the Amish are like kind of an extreme. Yeah. But nobody shits on the Amish because it's like, yeah, it's weird, but it's like they don't bother anybody.
They're just living farm life.
Yeah, they just want they want to live like that, and they're not trying to convert people or tell other people. It's like, no, you have to do this, and as long as you do that, no one cares. Do what you want. I don't care.
And they can leave. Most of them do.
Yeah. That's what I think. That's why nobody shits on the Amish because even though they're weird,
they're not forcing anything on
anybody. They're not trying to make laws for everybody else in the country that says nobody else can have electricity either or shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody just leaves them alone. Plus, they make delicious fudge.
I've seen YouTubers that go to interview them and hang out with them. They're not weird. They're just very country.
Yeah.
And
their beliefs are extreme. That's all I meant.
Yeah, they have their own way. They're like something from another time. Yeah. But they're normal people. That's just how they grew up. They're a little like an alien culture.
Yeah, most people are normal people.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I get why you might want to do it. I wouldn't want to do that. Jesus Christ. But,
their kids have a pretty high defection rate.
I get it.
But they're now, they've modernized a lot. Like, they could have cars on certain days. They have trucks. Because they have farms.
Yeah, you kind of
There's all kinds of workarounds.
You kind of need a truck if you have a farm.
Right. You're like, well, you got a truck? And you're like, because the guy was like, you have a truck, though? He goes, oh, yeah, I have a truck.
Yeah.
But only on certain days I use the truck.
Yeah.
Because we have to be able to take things to the fucking market. We have to do this now. Oh, okay, all right. So they're allowed to, it's not as strict as anymore.
Well, I kind of feel like a lot of religions could, because don't Orthodox Jews, like their Sabbath is Saturday, right?
Yeah.
If they observe it, and they're not allowed to, like, do anything or do any work. So it's like they can't even turn on light switches or anything. I'm talking about like real observant
the
ones.
modern,
like most of them don't do that.
The modern Amish kind of remind me of Orthodox Jews. Very Orthodox Jews.
Yeah.
Kind of similar.
There's
I think
but
Orthodox
like I
Jews
said,
they can access. They have cars though. They have modern technology.
Yeah. Like I said, it's usually
but
just
they're
the
still
Sabbath
doing shit like,
that
we got to
doing.
dress it this way.
Yeah.
That's like cosplay. Come on, man.
Which, like
you
I said,
have to dress a certain way.
Like I said, they're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
Like I said, as long as you're not trying to pass laws that everybody else got to follow, then I don't really care what you're doing or what you believe. You know what I mean? It's none of my business. So, do whatever crazy shit. I don't want to do it, but you do you. You have fun. So, so she grew up in a very, very, very evangelical fundamentalist background. Like I said, women were supposed to be subservient and submissive. They weren't supposed to talk. Like I said, no dancing. And instead of rebelling against this, she seemed to really get into it. Like, she really was into reading the Bible, and really seemed to. And honestly, even though later on, like in her own church that she formed, she would go her own way in some aspects. A lot of the shit from her church, Remnant, was very reminiscent of Church of Christ type shit. You know what I mean? Women being submissive to their husbands, that kind of stuff. They didn't have a no dancing, but it wasn't that strict. But they did have a lot of similar kind of shit about, you know, disciplining your children, which that was a big one, which we'll get into a little bit. But she got a lot of her shit from there. She just went off on her own way with it, I guess. And one of the things that she obviously went her own way on was Church of Christ absolutely did not allow women to be leaders or pastors or preachers or anything of that. They were just supposed to like shut up and keep quiet, right? Because the men are talking. And so obviously she went on to be the leader of her own church. But interestingly, there's tons of like interviews, because she was on TV like all the time, because she was like pretty popular, like in the 90s specifically. She was on Larry King, and she was on a bunch of other shows. And she would not, and I guess this was her upbringing doing this, she would not give herself a title. Even though she was making millions of dollars off this church that she founded, she would not call herself a pastor or a preacher or anything like that. She would always like work around it. Like, I don't really know what to call myself. I'm just Gwen. Like, you know what I mean? I think she was really uncomfortable because of the way she was raised, calling herself a leader or a founder or anything like that. Well, we'll get a little bit into that later, because it's kind of interesting, like how she really hesitated to call herself that. But I don't know. Even though she was obviously the one running the show, all of the other church leaders were all men. And I think she did that like to give a show. It's like, you know, oh, it's really dudes, but she was the one running it. Like every dude that worked there that left later said, yeah, she was the boss, and you had to ask, everything had to go through her. So she was the leader, but she wouldn't like admit it. Like she would never say that. And she would talk in circles trying to not put a title on it. Like I said, she wouldn't even call herself a pastor or a preacher or nothing. It was crazy. So when she was in high school, she seemed pretty normal. In us, other than, you know, the super religious thing. She was a cheerleader and all this other stuff. I will note that I saw pictures of her, like from high school and stuff like that, and she looked normal back then. Sadly, as you can see from the thumbnail photo, that would not last. You know what I mean? She just looked regular. She just looked like a regular pretty girl, you know what I mean? Nothing weird at all. Now, she actually did go to college, which is crazy, because I would have thought, I don't know. It's, given what I know about the Church of Christ, I would have thought they'd be like, what does a woman need to go to college for? Just get in the kitchen and start having babies or whatever. But she did actually go to college. And she got an undergraduate degree in dietetics. She wanted to be a dietitian, obviously. And that later she got a master's. She got a master's in food and nutrition. So she wasn't a quack. She did have a background in nutrition, which I'm not sure if that makes it worse, because like a lot of the shit that she said later, like when she published the books about her diet and stuff like that, were really not what mainstream dietitians would have recommended. And so she went like wildly off script there. So I think that that's maybe worse, because she should have known that that wasn't right or what wasn't recommended, but she just did her own thing with it, like I said. Now, when she was in college, like where she got her master's, she went to so the master's was actually, what I say, food and nutrition and with biochemistry emphasis. That's what it was. And she went to, this was at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Now, I will note that while she was at college, and this happens a lot, there's even a phrase for it. They call it the freshman 15. The first year that you start college, you usually gain 15 pounds. That's like the average. Just because your life has changed and there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of different reasons, but it's common enough that there's a phrase for it. So when she started college, she gained 20 pounds. And she had, I don't know if I'd call it a meltdown, because I wasn't there. But here's what I'll note. The woman, because I saw pictures of her from high school, completely normal, slim teenager. She wasn't heavy at all. And I will note that the 20 pounds she gained in college, that was the most overweight she ever got. And I will say, considering how she wasn't too skinny in high school, but she was just regular, slender. So if you gain 20 pounds on that, it's really not that big a deal. It's not like she gained like 100 pounds and she was like a big, huge, and then it was this big crisis. She gained 20 pounds and freaked out.
Bulimic.
And yeah, and I kind of feel, like I said, a long time ago when I was a teenager and my cousin, who was 2 years older than me, was a teenager, she had anorexia. And this is that's why I say I think she definitely had an eating disorder from a young age, because that is very eating disorder thinking. You just gained that little weight, especially considering she was quite small framed. She's not tall, and and she was pretty slender. You just put on 20 pounds and you just have a flip out, and that was as heavy as she got. And then like she had a crisis. So like I said, that is very eating disorder thinking. Now, so what she decided to do was that rather than go on, one of the more conventional diets that was maybe around at the time, she decided to study what she called like naturally thin eaters. And because she was very religious, she was coming at it from a religious point of view. Like, what would God's design for the body be? And she came to this insight, which to me is not particularly revelatory, because it's like, duh. And the thing about this, her whole diet plan, which I'll get into, is that some of the shit that she said was not nuts. It wasn't crazy. It was just regular shit. But I don't know why. I was like, why would anybody buy a book that just told them that? Because it seemed really like common sense or like obvious. But some of the shit she said was real crazy. But some of the shit she said was just regular. It just was normal. One of the things she came up with was that people that overeat sometimes is not because they're hungry, obviously, but because they have some other void that they're trying to fill with food, which I think everybody knows that nowadays. A lot of people that are overweight, they'll eat when they're bored or when they're sad or something like that. And I don't think it's crazy to point out that it's like, hey, don't do that. You know what I mean? Just eat when you're hungry. So I don't think it was this big revelation, but that was one of the things that she came up with. And she started to come up with this thing where, well, if you ever feel hungry or crave food, just like pray instead, or transfer your addiction to food to addiction to God. And one of the things she said, and you probably saw this on the documentary too, because she said this on multiple interviews, was she wanted to teach people to bow down to God instead of the refrigerator. Yeah. Because she said how did she phrase it? She said something like, if you worship the refrigerator, you'll look like a refrigerator, meaning you'll be a big fat sow. So yeah, while she's not wrong that obviously some people do eat for emotional, issues rather than just being hungry, and yes, that does contribute to weight gain. She's not wrong about that. It's just that, I don't know, I think the way she went about it was really weird, because like I said, gaining just only 20 pounds on an already slender frame and having a big crisis about it, that is definitely treading into like eating disorder territory to me. So she graduated with her master's, and she worked for a while like in some public health departments, and then another 5 years she worked as a teacher, actually, of foods and nutrition at the University of Memphis. So like I said, she wasn't a quack. Like, she did have a degree, she did teach, she knew her shit presumably, but then she kind of went off in all kind of crazy directions. So by the time 1980 rolled around, she had actually opened her own private like weight control consulting business, essentially. And while she was working in that capacity, she started putting down, kind of formalizing all the ideas she had about weight and God and all this other kind of stuff. And she put it into a thing that she called the Way Down Workshop. Way, W-E-I-G-H. And also, like, it's a pun. Like, way down, you know what I mean? So she said that her husband at the time, whose name was David, we'll talk about him a little bit later, came up with the name. It is a good name, I will say that. It's a good pun, you know, I like it. And so she started that. And initially what she did, it was this program that she had, and it initially wasn't associated with a church at all. Like, they just kind of had, like, she would give, like, seminars in malls and shit like that, you know what I mean? And people would come see it. And basically one of the things she was teaching, I kind of feel like in some ways, some of the shit she was teaching would today be known as, like, intuitive eating, like, only eat when you're hungry, like, stop when you're full, like, don't eat for emotional reasons or just when you're bored or something like that, which, like I said, that's completely decent advice. It's just that she went, like, way overboard with it eventually. You know what I mean? And she's basically saying, well, anytime you want food, just, like, redirect that into God. Like, you know, if you want to go to the refrigerator, run to the other end of your house away from the refrigerator and go pray or something like that.
Somebody new in the chat says, why are you talking about her now? As if we can't talk about people that are dead? What kind of shit is this? What kind of weird comment is that?
Because someone asked about her a long time ago. And
we're doing a show about her.
And we did a poll, and she won in the poll.
We'll talk about shit that happened fucking 200 or 300 years ago. All right.
Why are you asking that
It's
question?
called a show.
It is.
Yeah.
It's first time on the internet, I guess. So, yeah. Now, one of the things that I think was a little bit weird, though, is that, okay, well, this part's not weird. But she basically, and I think this is maybe one of the reasons why a lot of people liked this quote-unquote diet plan, is because they didn't have a list of forbidden foods, which I agree, that is a good way of looking at it. Because if you tell people that are trying to lose weight, look, you can't eat chocolate or you can't have donuts or whatever, like, they're just going to make them want it, like, even more. What you're trying to teach people is, like, you can have that stuff, just don't overdo it. Like, every now and then you can have one, it's not going to kill you, you know what I mean? And I think that is a much healthier way of looking at food. So she did say that. But one of the weird things is that there was no emphasis at all on fitness or exercise. Like, and I think one of the selling points of the program was that you didn't have to worry about, there were forbidden foods, or you didn't have to worry about exercise. Because the whole point of the diet, essentially, was starving yourself, pretty much, or being in a calorie deficit, which, like I said, in short term, that's fine. It does work. I've lost weight that way. Actually, most people will lose weight that way because you're starving yourself. It's not sustainable long term, but that's what she was coming at. So I think that's where a lot of people were like, what? I don't have to exercise? Cool. I'm like, yeah, but you have to, like, not eat. You know what I mean? That was what her whole thing was. So I'm going to say I didn't need a whole ass book about Jesus and God and whatnot telling me it's like, well, you'll lose weight if you don't eat. Well, duh. That's kind of how science works. So, yeah. Whether or not, like, how original this fucking idea was, didn't seem to matter because the programs were wildly popular. At least in those evangelical circles, because obviously because she was coming at it from a religious... Well, what, honey? She was coming at it from a religious point of view. You know, obviously the evangelical audience, like, ate that shit up, you know what I mean? Because it's like, they wanted something that was, like, diet-based, but that was also God-based, you know what I mean? And she was kind of scratching that itch, I guess. So, like, kind of word of her program started to spread, because it got really popular. And so by the early 1990s, you know, she had started making, like, videos and audio tapes and stuff like that, programs that you could listen to help you out. And they started introducing classes into different churches. Like, a church would, like, buy the program, and you could take the class, like, at the church. It was, like, all over the country. I feel like it was centered mostly in Tennessee, which is where it started. But it kind of spread out to, like, other churches around the country and eventually, like, around the world. There was a few other countries that had it as well. I think the UK even had it a bit. And so as it got bigger and bigger, she actually founded a company called Way Down Ministries. And then she founded Remnant Publishing to, you know, publish her classes and books and stuff. And she started getting a lot of media, like, around this time. you know, them calling her like the pioneer of faith-based weight loss, because, you know, there's faith-based everything. Like any kind of self-help, you know, there's going to be just regular ass self-help, like how to get over addiction or whatever. And then there's going to be like a percentage of it that is Jesus-y. You know what I mean? Because that's just how it goes. So I kind of feel like maybe, I don't know if she was the first one to do this. I doubt it. But she was easily like the most successful to kind of come at it like that way. And as time went on, she kind of expanded. I'm not going to lie, it's mostly based around the weight loss. That's because that was her thing. So I kind of feel like that's mostly what she focused on. But other people that used the program, like, supposedly used it to get over any other quote-unquote addictions that they had, like, using the same method, if you want to call it that. Let's say they got over, like, addictions to smoking or porn or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? And she was coming at it from a sort of, whenever you feel the need to do the thing, whatever the addictive thing is, whether it's eating or smoking or whatever, then, you know, just parlay that into praying and everything will be okay.
Yeah, couple's like, yeah, she died in that plane crash. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2021. So yeah.
We cover cult leaders quite often on the channel. We just talk about them. Fucking kind of fucking laugh at it. But that's just how humans are, man. They do this shit.
Yeah. Couples Light said they shamed people into losing weight. Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. You know what I mean? And I saw, like, on the documentary, like, a lot of ex-members were just talking about how fucked up that was.
Right.
But like I said, I think a lot of it was an extension of Gwen's own. I'm not excusing her. But I think a lot of it was an extension of her own self-hatred. Because I didn't read her book. She wrote a book. She wrote several books, but the first one she wrote about the Way Down plan, the Way Down diet. And I haven't read it, but I read, like, synopses, and, like, I saw, like, some different pages and stuff like that. And the whole book is basically, like, her excoriating herself about how, not gross she is, but she really says some shit about herself that's, like, obviously she's got issues. You know what I mean? She's got self-esteem issues. And it's all tied up to her appearance. Like, she's very, very appearance-oriented. And honestly, the whole entire church, I feel like, not just about the weight, even though that was a significant component of it, I feel like the whole church was based around the idea of everything has to look perfect at all times. And, like, if you didn't, you were fucking up. And I think that really contributed to, like, a lot of the, you know, when the people left, it's like that really mentally does it. Like, you're not allowed to be sad, or you're not allowed, even if sad shit happens, like, you have to project, like, this happiness and perfection, like a Stepford wife kind of situation, like, all the time, and it was fucking people up.
Yeah, another funny thing is that she's appearance oriented, but her fucking ideal appearance was to be fucking skinny as shit with huge ass fucking hair. Too bad it wasn't like a fitness chick or a muscle mommy. She'd look so much better if she was in the gym. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
she
but
looks terrible.
I don't think chicks like that tend to start cults. I mean,
they don't start cults.
I'm sure there's one out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But chicks like that tend not to start cults.
Right.
I think they have a lot healthier body image.
Right.
Than this
she
bitch
needed a
did.
healthier body image.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I should get jacked, get some big old fucking implants. I have some big titties and big ass and shit. Hourglass shape. Huge fucking Chun-Li style fucking thighs. Like, yeah, go for that, baby. Yeah,
like
a whole
I said,
church of that, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Get out there and fucking lift some weight. Eat, bitch.
I mean, anything can be a cult, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that it's a lot healthier to be like, you know, I want to be healthy and strong.
Yeah.
And actually eat food, but just, like, exercise and work out and be, like, more into fitness and stuff like that. That's much, much healthier.
Much better for you.
Than just being like, well, you don't have to exercise, just starve.
Starve, bitch. I want to be 63 pounds. Yeah, I'll be beautiful at 63. No, you're not. Nah.
And like I said, it's please go look up her daughter because... Holy crap. Like, her daughter actually started out a perfectly beautiful young woman, and now I'm not even sure. Like, she doesn't even look real.
Yeah.
She looks like one of those Bratz dolls.
Yeah.
Kind of, because not only is she clearly have an eating disorder, she's clearly anorexic or bulimic, but she's had all kind of really weird looking plastic
Yeah.
surgery. She's had lip fillers. She's had cheek implants.
Yeah.
She does some weird shit with her eyebrows. Like, I don't really know what's going on there, but it does. I mean, she needs some help.
That's kind of like Ozzy Osbourne's daughter. What was her name? Fucking.
Oh yeah,
Sharon was the wife.
Yeah,
the
what was
daughter.
what was the daughter's name? I don't remember.
Man, you should see her now. That poor girl. She got a hold of Ozempic.
I didn't recognize her.
And just like, what the fuck? And the thing is about her, she was a cute little chubby chick back in the 90s. She was still chubby, but she was cute, and she looked like her dad. Her dad had kind of a chubby face.
He did.
She wasn't.
Kelly, thank you.
Kelly, that's right.
Gramthers, thank
Kelly,
you.
I don't remember ever seeing Kelly as obese.
She was just a little chunky. She was a little chunky.
Cute, yeah, she was
Nothing wrong
what
with
they
it.
call thick. She was
Nothing
just
wrong with
thick.
it.
I remember her as being cute,
Yeah.
and she's not cute anymore. She's
Well, I saw a picture of her standing next to
She
Sharon. I'm
looks
like,
horrible.
wait, who is that? And then I saw
Yeah.
the caption. I was like, no fucking way. I didn't recognize her.
her weight is too low.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
Well, like I said, I kind of feel like you've seen that. I see. I don't really follow a lot of celebrity culture or anything like that, but I do, even from the periphery, I kind of see that there's this kind of everybody's going back into that 90s heroin chic kind of look.
Heroin chic.
Like, and I think it's mostly because of Ozempic, maybe.
Yeah. We take it,
I mean, we take it too, but it's
but we
just,
don't abuse it.
no, I don't want to look like that.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I just want to, lose 20 pounds and then not
Right,
take it
yeah.
anymore, because it makes me feel like throwing up, which I don't
Yeah.
like. But you know what I mean? So I'm not going to take it forever because I don't really want to lose that much weight.
And Ozempic works for guys who fucking lift. You mix it the right way, you're not trying to fucking... You're still trying to gain muscle mass, but to lose body fat, hell yeah, that shit works.
It does work, yeah.
You just gotta fucking be careful with it. You gotta know when to come off.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't really,
Yeah.
I've lost probably about 13, 14 pounds on it so far.
Yeah.
It's good, but like...
And if you're still training, as a guy who lifts, if you're still training and eating and on cycle, you can be on Ozempic and not lose a pound of muscle. But if you're not, you could lose a lot of muscle. That's what happened to Kelly Osbourne. She looked like shit. There's no muscle there.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that's kind of the issue, is that they
Yeah.
all look like...
Look like skeletons.
Yeah, they all look like skeletons, which
Yeah.
that doesn't really look good on anybody.
Yeah.
No.
Don't look good.
And I don't want to look like that
No.
either. Like, not that I ever would. It's just that I don't think I would look good like that.
Yeah, but for the over 40 crowd, yeah, Ozempic. Fucking right. Just learn to control it.
Yeah. Like I said, just don't stay on the shit.
Mm-hmm.
So the program that she made, I think it was 12 weeks. And she would come in, and like I said, it got super, super popular. So by 1994, they had her classes in about 600 churches in the U.S. And then the following year, it was like over 1,000 churches. And then also they had some in Canada and the UK also. And then 1996, they had about 5,000 churches. And so it just kept growing and growing. And like I said, she was in the mainstream media like all the time. They were asking her because that's how popular it was. I don't actually remember her from the time because I didn't really watch any of that kind of stuff or follow any of that kind of stuff, even in the 90s. So I had not heard of her back then, but apparently she was hugely, hugely popular. And then she wrote that book that I was talking about before in 1997, which is called The Way Down Diet. And that actually sold over 1 million copies. And then she wrote a couple other books like devotionals and shit like that. And then workbooks, of course, like to go along with the shit. Because, gotta grift. You gotta sell like everything you can sell. I think like later on they even had like fucking keychains and shit like that. Because, So she pretty much framed this, and she hadn't even started the church yet. This is just her weight loss program, but religiously, And she kind of, when she was on TV and stuff, she would say that she thought of this as like a ministry first and then a business second, which I don't believe that, but okay. Now, at this point, I think they had moved to, like I said, it started in Tennessee. She moved the headquarters to Franklin, Tennessee, and had about 40 people working for her at this stage. And I think it was about this time, might have been slightly later, and I think this doesn't get talked about that much on some of the other documentaries, but I saw it like mentioned here and there, is that when she started building this business empire, I would call it, she not only invested in the weight loss and the publishing and the classes that she was doing, she also started investing in like other businesses, like contracting and real estate and all this other kind of shit, which I'll get more into in a little bit. Because here's the thing, and I think this kind of got even more pronounced like after she started the church, because in the U.S., within certain parameters, if you have a church, it's tax-free, right? And I think within certain guidelines, if that church owns a business, like, for example, an old folks home, I don't believe you have to pay taxes on that either. So, like, a lot of churches will absolutely do that. And she took pretty full advantage of that loophole. Like I said, I think there are some limitations. I don't think you could just willy-nilly. But I'm not sure exactly. If anybody knows anything about the legalities of it, I'd be curious to know. But I know I don't agree with this. I don't think churches should be tax-free because they rake in bajillions of dollars. And it seems dumb, like why they wouldn't have to pay taxes like any other business, because that's what they are. They're a business. And that would be a huge source of revenue. But, you know, they don't. And if you can get yourself legally designated as a church, as Scientology did, then you don't have to pay taxes on any of that shit. And on the shit that you own, like properties and stuff like that, which, in my opinion, is bullshit. But yeah, so she took advantage of that as well, which, like I said, I'll get into in a little bit. Now, obviously, because of this book that came out, which seemed very much like her eating disorder foisted on others, you know what I mean? Because there was a lot of shit in there that sounded a lot, I don't know, like I said, it just kind of felt like self-hatred, the book, you know what I mean? Like, she always thought she was too fat, even though she was at her fattest, quote unquote, she was only 20 pounds heavier than the weight that you saw her at on TV, and she was very slender. So it's like, I can't imagine that 20 pounds would have looked that much bigger on a woman that small. So I don't know, like I said, might have been different if she'd been like 300 pounds and just like, yeah, I used this diet to like lose 200 pounds or whatever the fuck. But it wasn't. It was just like 20 pounds. And she was just like, oh no, you know what I mean? I was like, must be nice. So yeah. Now I will note that reportedly, I mean, the diet did work, obviously, for some people. And, you know, they reported a lot of success because, as it turns out, making yourself not eat and go pray instead will make you lose weight because you're in a calorie deficit. I mean, yes, that does work on pretty much everybody. But yeah. Now, and I feel like a lot of the popularity, I think I sort of alluded to this earlier, but I think a lot of the popularity of the program was that it seemed easy. Like, it didn't emphasize exercise at all, so you didn't like have to go to the gym or do exercise, which, you know, we all hate that, I know. You didn't have to buy any special food. No foods were forbidden. And basically it was just like saying no, like waiting until, how'd she phrase it? Where's like where God would give you the hunger sign. Like, basically don't eat until your stomach is like literally growling and you're like in pain from hunger. Like, then you can eat. But up to then, just don't. Just go pray instead. So like I said, it was easy. Other than buying the whole program, which was not cheap, you know, you didn't have to have any other shit. Like I said, you didn't have to pay to go to the gym. You didn't have to buy any special shakes or anything like that. You just had to, like, not eat. And so, like I said, but I think that the seeds of this kind of toxic idea that the thinner you were, the more holy or righteous you were, is obviously going to lead to some bad outcomes. If you're tying being overweight or not being thin enough to being a sinner, people that are believers in that are gonna develop some issues, which indeed some people did. Now, interestingly, and this doesn't even have anything to do with weight loss, but one of the things, and I'm not really entirely sure why she did this. I mean, I do think she was maybe a true believer, because like I said, she grew up in a very, very, very conservative church. And so I don't think she didn't really know any different. So it could be that she just like legitimately thought this, because she should have known that this was going to get her into trouble a bit. In August of 2000, and this was slightly after she was, starting her church, which I'll get into in a minute. She basically came out and said that the Trinity, which is one of the founding things of like Christianity, right, was not biblical. Saying that it wasn't in the scripture. She wasn't arguing that Jesus wasn't, a prophet or anything like that, but she was basically saying that the idea of the Trinity with the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost being the same entity, essentially, was not true, that there was a hierarchy, that God was above Jesus, and then Holy Ghost was apparently down there.
Yeah, she's right. It's not canonical. That's certain churches have that as a tradition, as a way of teaching to their people. The whole, that God, His Son Jesus, and then the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit, which is this power over the earth. That is like a kind of a reality. But but what happens is churches over time took that and really ran with it. They were just trying to explain, well, hold on, if God is in heaven, then how could He part the fucking Red Sea?
Yeah.
He comes down off the throne.
They're just trying to
leaves
cover
control over the universe, and then fucking no. It's His hand. The Holy Spirit did it. He was still up there on the throne. Don't worry. The captain was still flying the plane. That's what they're talking about.
It's fine.
That's all they're talking about. Hold on. Jesus was as good as fucking God. He's speaking God's word, this and that. Yeah, but He's the Son. Well, who was in charge? Well, the Father was.
Yeah.
That's
like I said, to me, I'm not religious
to
at all.
Modern people, they don't give a fuck. It's ancient people trying to nitpick the story.
Yeah.
Well, who's in charge?
It's like Marvel against DC.
Yeah, Marvel versus DC.
It's like that
level
of how much I care about.
So the churches had to come up with an explanation.
But the thing about
who's flying the plane.
Well, here's the thing. In 2000, though, I'm not part of the religious subculture in any way. So it's like, but people back then took it very, very seriously. There are some other religious sects that are anti-Trinitarian, as they call it. But her announcing that, man, like a lot of her followers and stuff flipped the fuck out. Like a lot of people quit. Yeah. Like from her church and from like her the employees that she had, like at the publishing company and stuff. Like she had a book that was coming out, her publisher canceled it. Like, because she came out and said that. So, obviously, it was a big deal to them.
If you're a fucking Star Wars fanboy, or a fucking Superman fanboy, or Marvel comic fan, you will totally understand it. They're fighting over the canon. Yeah. That's all it is. A bunch of fanboys fighting over the canon. What's canon? What isn't canon? That's all they're doing. I think it's funny, though, because, these are people, these are adults, and they're trapped in these systems that are based upon stories, but they're taking that shit serious as a motherfucker. This is religion. This is what's defining their interpretation of reality. Well, shit, if God is in heaven sitting on a throne, but then He parts the Red Sea, does He actually have to leave the throne and go down and do it Himself? And when He's doing this, who's sitting on the throne? Can Gabriel jump up out of his fucking creations and jump on the throne and become God? Because God really, God is more like a title or a job title. Because a lot of shit in the Old Testament is that people becoming God. That Yahweh becomes God. And Yahweh was one of God's sons for a while. But that I'm getting off. That starts getting into mythicism. Jen's back, so I was just trying to fill the time. But fucking God is more like a job title. Certain people can assume that role in the very old
like
shit.
Like me. No,
well, that's what happened in the old Roman and Greco-Roman stuff. Fucking what was his name? Saturn got overthrown by his own son and became God. You know, Jupiter. You know, it's the Olympian gods getting rid of the old fucking what do they call them? The Titans. That was the older version of the gods. So whoever's in charge is God in these stories, not who made the universe or made man. That's a modern invention of the imagination. God is like a rank.
Granther says, every church-run nursing home I've been inside has been poorly run, roach-infested hellholes. God help any soul that ends up in one. Yeah, that does not surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
Oracle said, God's hunger point, I believe. Yes, that's what she called it. You have to wait until you get to God's hunger point before you eat. She would even say shit like, and this is very eating disorder thinking. She's like, you should cook food for your family and like enjoy watching them eat it, but like you not eat. You know what I mean? And that, like I said, that's very like anorexics do that. They enjoy making food for other people, but they won't eat it.
Tracy's going on, said the Titans were the Nephilims. Yeah, kinda in a way, but if you actually read Genesis, you have God, the sons of God. Each one of the sons of God was picked by different tribes. Israel picked Yahweh. Later on, some of the sons of God had sex with the women and begat Nephilim, and then those sons of God were chained into the earth. Okay, now in that particular story, the Nephilim were half angel and half sons of God and half mortal women. In the Greco-Roman system, that would have been the demigods. That's where you have some of Zeus's sons, or Jupiter's sons, having sex with mortal women, and them being offspring of the fucking gods of Mount Olympus, and that would have been like Perseus or Heracles. And Jesus would have been a Nephilim, because his father was God and his mother was Mary, so he would have been a Nephilim, and they die in a similar way. Jesus and Heracles, very similar. But okay, I'm gonna stop there. I was going on forever on that.
Yeah, no
but,
shit.
A Nephilim was an angel, an offspring of an angel and a woman, or in the Greco-Roman system. And it also kind of probably the Egyptian system, which there was around the same time. Any one of God's sons or daughters having offspring with a woman. Although I don't think I don't think there's any tales of a female God having sex with a male man, because the female God would be up in Mount Olympus to carry it, and it would be born up there. If it's a mortal woman, it's born down here. It's very human type thinking. But I don't think there's any stories where a mortal man impregnates a goddess in any of the Greco-Roman
Not
stories.
that I can think of offhand.
It's always the other way around.
I could be wrong about that.
Now, fucking God himself in the Greco-Roman system, you know what I mean? Fucking Jupiter or Zeus, he would show up as sometimes as a bull and impregnate a woman.
Or a swan.
Or a swan.
Or a shower of gold.
So they were into all that furry bestiality shit going all the way back then, where like a woman might says, oh shit, oh what the fuck is happening here? Well shit, this
Why
might
am I
be
being
Zeus.
fucked by a swan?
This might be Zeus. I'm just gonna put up with this big
right
old
now?
fucking bull. Yeah. You don't know. And a shower of gold.
It was like that Zookeeper Reddit story about
Yeah.
the guy getting raped by an ostrich.
What it goes back to is the Morning Glory milking farm smut of these girls writing stories of them having to pay off their college debt by jerking off minotaurs.
I mean, there is truly nothing new under the sun.
Basically the same shit. Jerking off minotaurs to make Viagra for mortal men.
The Greeks and the Romans were super freaks.
They were all freaky.
Super freaky. Like, you can't... I guarantee it that you can't think of anything that they didn't think of first, thousands of years ago.
I know, they've dug up statues of porn of it.
They thought of it all.
Yeah.
They're,
Satyrs
like
having sex with she-goats and all kinds of weird shit.
That is actually a beautiful statue.
Yeah, and they've dug that up in the 1600s.
It's so nicely done.
Yeah, royal people from like the 1600s,
I kind of
1700s
want it.
saw that and they're like, oh shit, cover that up.
Like,
Yeah,
if you
so-
want, I think it's at the
Yeah.
I think it's at that big museum in London,
Yeah.
but they usually don't put it on display. But it's like, man, if they had like a littler thing of that in the gift shop, I would totally buy it.
Side Quest just showed up. She's talking about the topic and has no idea how she got here. It's all right, Side Quest.
Totally walked in the room. Yeah, we're talking about fucking Swan. You know how this show is.
Yeah.
If you come in at any point, we don't even remember like how we got to that. I mean, this time I do, but like most of the time we don't remember even how we got on that topic to start with. But yeah, so yeah, because we were talking about the Trinity and how I kind of feel like that's why I kind of feel like this woman, Gwen, I think she was a true believer in a lot of ways, because you'd think if she was only focused on the cash, which I think
goes, she goes, yeah. Go Google right now, ancient Roman statue of a satyr having sex with the she-goat. It's a beautiful statue. It was dug up in the...
it is really nice.
I
I would totally have a reproduction of
yeah, I think it was dug up in the 1600s or
I don't remember.
1700s, and it had all the damn fucking nobility was
beautiful.
around as they were uncovering it, as they were digging it up. When they saw what it was, they're like, "Oh shit!" Cover that
Embarrassing.
up.
Hope your grandma's not here.
Then the fucking Vatican took it.
How fucking funny
They
would
kept
that be?
that shit under lock and key. It's from some Roman story.
All the archaeologists are
Yeah.
sitting there like, look at this beautiful find. Oh, it's a dildo.
Fucking satyr with his horns and his goat legs just banging the shit out of a female goat.
Yeah,
It's
pretty,
wild, bro.
It's pretty rad. Like
It's
I said,
beast porn. Yeah.
and like I said,
Furries.
I love that it's just so beautifully done. That
It was
That's
an
just
expensive.
sending
It was
me.
a very expensive statue that
clearly,
somebody commissioned.
yeah, somebody paid a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Beast porn. They were
I
buying
love it.
beast porn.
And they just put that right there in
Furries
the bedroom,
and shit.
in the little.
That shit was worthy of some of the AI shit that they're doing.
That's so funny to me.
Out of the video games, women in centaurs and women in minotaurs and shit like that. Yeah.
Which, like I said,
were
if
even
you,
further,
if you
it's-
didn't know,
Yeah.
that's like the #1 subgenre
Yeah.
of erotica
Yeah.
on Amazon
Yeah.
is beast porn, like
Basically.
werewolves, any kind of beasts,
It's
and
werewolves
and
centaurs,
serial killers,
serial killers. Yeah.
which that's a whole other
Yeah.
niche.
And
I'm
this
not-
is women writing this.
yeah.
Women are smutty.
Yeah, we're the worst.
Women are smutty.
Well, we don't do this shit in real life though.
No, but they're.
We
We
just
just
like read-
about it
we just like
happening.
we just like reading and
Happening
thinking and
to some
freaking
chick.
about freaky shit.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do it in real life though.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean?
Fucking funny.
We're pretty good at separating. But like I said, we can think of way
They're
freakier.
compartmentalizing.
We can think of way freakier shit than dudes do.
Yeah,
but
dudes don't think about
we
it.
do less of it in real life.
You're right.
You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like she had to have known. I would think that she had to have known.
He said he Googled it, says that's a pretty sculpture. Yeah.
It is, isn't it nice? I really like it. Like I said, if they sold a reproduction of it, I would totally have
That
them.
bitch is over 2,000 years old.
Yeah, it's rad. I really like it.
Yeah, they were doing fucking furry porn 2,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I imagine it wasn't really that weird.
No, well, shit, they displayed that shit in public.
Yeah. They were just kind of like,
Yeah.
yep, that's how they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like Gwen, with her religious upbringing, I don't know. I mean, she had to have known that her anti-Trinitarian stance would lose her some business, which it did. So this, to me, suggests that she was a true believer in her own bullshit, because if she was just worried about grifting and making money, which I'm not saying that that's also not the case, I think she just would have played it safe. But the fact that she came out and said something which to a lot of other Christian sects is seen as heretical, and you know they were going to get like super butthurt about it, which they did, you know, you'd think she would have like not taken a stance as quote unquote extreme as that. But she did. And there was, obviously it didn't affect her wealth any because she had a bajillion dollars, but she did get some of her book contracts canceled. Like a lot of her employees quit. Like a lot of people left the church over it, and you know she got a lot of backlash. But like I said, it didn't really hurt her in the long run. So who knows? Maybe she's smarter than me. I don't know. So she actually founded her church because, like I said, prior to this had been like a weight loss ministry, if you would. That's what she called it. But she decided as L. Ron Hubbard had before her, best way to make some cash is start a religion. Start your own religion. So that's what she did. She started her own church in 1999. And they started out in Franklin, Tennessee. Eventually, they would move to Brentwood in Tennessee in 2004. And Brentwood, if you don't know, is a super, super wealthy, very, very white suburb of, it's not far from Nashville. And it's basically like Stepford on steroids. You know what I mean? And so that's where they moved to. Like, she bought a campus there, and she also bought a house there, which was a massive plantation house called Ashlawn, and that was only like a couple minutes away from the building, like where the church was, which was also on 40 acres. So, you know, she had some fucking cha-ching, you know. So like I said, I kind of feel like she was going off on her own because, as I mentioned before, she was raised in the Church of Christ, and a lot of the tenets of her religion that she started were also Church of Christ teachings, very similar, but Church of Christ did not allow women leaders. So I kind of feel like, did she chafe a little bit at that and was maybe like, I'm going to start my own fucking church? But that's the thing. I think that she was so indoctrinated to not believe in women leaders that she would not call herself a pastor or a preacher or anything like that. Like, even when they asked her about it outright, she always like danced around it. She wouldn't call herself that, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's weird.
Now, just like many other religions and cults before them, her religion, Remnant Fellowship, taught that all the other churches are bullshit. We're the only correct one. I feel like that's kind of par for the course. They all kind of do that. She called them counterfeit. There was so much hypocrisy and all this other kind of stuff. We're the only right one. We're the only ones teaching the undiluted teachings of Jesus and the Lord and all of that. And like I said, she was very big on women being submissive, even though she for sure wasn't. But, you know, hypocrisy. It's kind of, she's decrying hypocrisy in other churches, but she's like the textbook example of it, which I feel like is also kind of par for the course, right? That happens like very often. And very big on obedience. Like I said, women being obedient to their husbands, children being obedient to their parents, like under any circumstances. And you were supposed to reject anything that wasn't God. Like, so whether that was food or money, which like she certainly didn't do, I'll get a little bit more into that later, or anything like that. She's like, this is the one true church. That's what they all say. And like I said, she called it Remnant because of something. I thought it was Book of Revelation, but maybe it was Isaiah. I can't really remember now. But it was just kind of like the faithful minorities that, you know, survive judgment or whatever. Like I said, I don't think it was the rapture, because I don't even think that's in the Bible, honestly, if I remember correctly. But it was just like, you know, the ones that were left over, the only true Christians, I guess. So they were positioning themselves in that way. And a lot of her sermons and stuff like that kind of hammered on that point, that like we were the only ones that were true. Like all the other ones are bullshit, kind of, or are wrong somehow. And so, okay. So their whole belief system, you know, personal relationship with God, not that weird. And that there was like supposedly an empty spot in everyone's heart that could only be filled with divine love, I guess. And her coming at it from a weight loss angle, she kind of tried to expand that, I feel like, into different things, because she's kind of like, if you figured out what God's hunger and fullness cues were, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could apply that to other things, not just food. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she was coming at it from that. So it's like, so if you can figure out when God wants you to eat or when he wants you to stop eating, then that kind of will work for anything else in your life, like whatever addiction that you have. So, like, you were supposed to listen for God's voice when he was telling you to, like, stop doing the shit, whatever your worldly appetite was, I guess. And as with many other religions and cults, members were encouraged to tithe. I believe it was 10%. And it was just kind of like, so she started doing sermons. Like I said, she did tons and tons of videos, like hours and hours of video, like different video series that she did. And she would do like kind of live assemblies in her house, because like I said, she had this massive mansion. It's a beautiful house, by the way. You can see it on, it's still there. You can see it on Google and everything like that. It was like an old school plantation house, right? And just really beautiful. So she had some fucking money now. She did a children's show. She did a TV show called You Can Overcome. Shit like that. And so, like I said, some people really did seem to get into the message of the shit. It did seem to work. People lost weight. And I will say, though, that because they were, and this is probably not surprising, but because they were so big on wives being submissive to their husbands, in the beginning, at least, until a point that we'll talk about in a little bit, you know, wives had to be submissive to their husbands, and so divorce was strongly discouraged. Divorce was a sin, even in cases of infidelity or abuse. You were just supposed to suck it up. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't supposed to, God doesn't want you to divorce. So, you know, that's fucked up. Also, they were very strict with children. So discipline came from, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child. So they had absolutely no compunction about beating the shit out of their kids. And she was a big advocate, even though she would kind of try and deny it later on, even though they have recordings of her saying the shit, that she thought you had to beat your kids. It was in the Bible. That was the only way to teach them anything. And that was the only way to make them obedient. Because like I said, the whole thing of this cult was surface level. Everything had to look good. Everybody had to be thin and good looking. All of the children had to be obedient. Everyone had to be smiling and happy at all times. If you didn't, there was something wrong, like you were sinning or whatever.
The thing is, though, man, is, that sounds Old Testament to me. I don't think that's even mentioned in the New Testament.
Well, like I said, I think they pick and choose.
Yeah.
Depending on what they wanted to do to start with. They're just looking for some justification. And if they find it in the Old Testament or the New Testament, I don't think it really matters to them.
New Testament stuff, you know what I mean? It's usually taken out of context. It's somebody writing to another church somewhere else, usually like Paul. You might be, hey, if you got young people getting out of line, you got to straighten their asses up. But, you know, then they want to take it out of context. Like, you got to beat the shit out of them. That's not... I don't know that that's actually there per se. I'm just noticing that there's a lot of mistakes like that people make.
Well, like I said...
They're always just kind of... But in the Old Testament, you would have something like that.
Yeah.
The Old Testament was kind of like, yeah, you can beat a person for this, you should beat a person for that, and this and that. They do that, beat them. But that's Old Testament shit. The New Testament wasn't supposed to have any hard set laws or rules about anything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like generally, from what I remember, at least, the New Testament was like a lot more chill and groovy. It's still not great, but it's just like...
it was more like a vibe. It was a vibe. It wasn't...
This is more Old Testament shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know...
You
ate shrimp on a Sunday, that's a beating.
That's a wrap.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be the shit. In the Old Testament...
Or we'll cut your head off.
The New Testament, would there would be fucking weird problems in it too, you know? Like, Paul would say some shit, or supposedly Paul. We don't know if Paul actually doing this. Some of the Paul probably fake, because there's a lot of books that are supposedly by Paul. You know, hey, Paul... Or Paul saying, like, somebody asked me, you know, if I'm in a Roman's house and fucking he offers me to eat a meal, and the meal was from an animal that was sacrificed by a Roman god, should I eat that? Or is that a sin, you know? And fucking Paul would say something like, oh, well, yeah, as long as you know those gods aren't real and you're a guest in his house, then the right thing to do is, yeah, go ahead and eat it, because we know that those gods aren't real. And then in another place, Paul's saying, like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Eating flesh of an animal sacrificed to a fucking pagan god? Oh, fucking hell no.
That's
crazy
amazing.
God will burn you up. Well, which one is it? Which one is it? You know, it's just... It's all bullshit.
This is the kind of shit that I was like, because when I grew up, I was not raised religious. I didn't know anybody really that was raised super religious. And when I was in 5th or 6th grade, there was a kid in our class who was a Jehovah's Witness, or rather his parents were Jehovah's Witnesses and were probably making him be Jehovah's Witness too, because they're not really old enough to pick. He was a nice kid though. He was a really nice kid and I liked him. So he wasn't weird at all or anything like that. But the thing that always sucked, and all of us in the class like felt bad for him, right? Because whenever there was a holiday or whenever it was somebody's birthday, right, and like your mom or dad would bring in cupcakes, and he wasn't allowed to have any, they'd make him go sit in the teacher's lounge because he was not allowed to celebrate anything because Jehovah's Witnesses are no fun. So he would have to do that, and everybody would be like, "What the fuck? That is such bullshit! Like, what kind of fucking religion doesn't let you have a cupcake on someone's birthday, for Christ's sake?"
Yeah.
And that kind of got me thinking, because many years later I worked with a dude that was a Jehovah's Witness too, and I was just kind of like, okay, like let's have a hypothetical situation. Like hypothetically, it's St. Patrick's Day, right? And I bring in some cupcakes, but the cupcakes are not decorated for St. Patrick's Day. I didn't even know it was St. Patrick's Day. I just brought in cupcakes because I felt like bringing in cupcakes. I didn't bring in cupcakes because it was St. Patrick's Day. Are you technically allowed to eat them then? And I still don't know.
Yeah.
I still can't get a straight answer for that. It's just dumb that we have to have that fucking conversation, because just eat a fucking cupcake, for Christ's sake. Or don't if you don't want it. It's just kind of like, that is a stupid
well, that's the thing.
Rule.
That's the thing. Most of Christian scripture is about getting how to deal with heretics, and a heretic is another Christian that doesn't believe exactly what you believe.
Yeah.
And they're talking about heretics that existed 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a modern heretic. Or how to deal with pagans.
Yeah.
Can you eat the fucking flesh of the animals that they're serving you if they're sacrificed by other gods? So a lot of the New Testament doesn't apply to today, because there aren't any Christian heretics.
Completely different.
There aren't any pagan gods being worshipped. So
trying to live by that,
right, you have to throw a lot of it out because it doesn't apply.
Is
right
a fool's errand.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call it that.
It's very old.
Because like our lives are not anything the same. Like nothing applies anymore. The context is completely different.
Yeah.
Humans by and large are not that different, but it's like the culture is completely different, and it just seems silly to try to live your life by these kind of archaic rules that don't really apply to anything.
If you go through the New Testament, man, 70% of it is how to deal with Christian heretics. About 70% of it. And that's not me saying this, it's other guys that have actually went through it. And it's not about you or anybody that's alive today. It's about Christians that are long gone.
Yeah, they only knew...
Because they would fight with each other.
They only knew what was going on in their immediate lives, like most people do. They weren't thinking about people 2,000 years in the future. Now, why would you?
Now, a modern preacher will pick through there and look at the arguments that was made between Christians 2,000 years ago and say, well, okay, this is how they resolve conflict, so we're going to use that same method. No, don't use that same method, because the world has totally changed back then. The world is totally different. You don't have to resort to that kind of thinking anymore. It's just, the context isn't there.
Yeah, like that's what it seems so weird to me, because it's just kind of like, it's nothing, nothing applies. It's not the same. So it's just, stop trying to like force today into rules from back then. That's our lives are completely different.
Stop worrying about what season you should start planting in, because that's in there too. You're not a farmer.
Yeah, it's like that was a big part of their lives, unless you're a farmer now, in which case I would think that you would already know that.
You'd know that, or they have different systems, and you have fertilizers now, and you're fucking growing shit hydroponically, so it doesn't quite matter.
Completely different.
Under artificial lighting, so doesn't matter when you plant your weed seeds. Weed will come out of that hydroponic farm no matter what, when you got those lights set up right. It's that kind of stupid shit. Most of it doesn't apply. So they got to make shit up. They got to sell this somehow.
And that's what they're doing. They're selling it. Like I said, it's very capitalist.
Yeah, it's capitalism.
So, it's just competition for...
Yeah.
You're trying to win out over the other
How
religions.
to go to heaven. It's a how to go to heaven
So you got to have an angle that nobody else has.
Yeah,
Christianity, just like any other product.
Christianity's kind of unique in where it's not a religion that tells you what to do. It's just kind of telling you what it is you have to do to go to heaven, and it's vague about that. So it's a how to go to heaven manual, not so much how to live. Islam and a lot of the other ones are like what it is you have to do on a daily basis. You got to wash your feet. You got to fucking pray 3 times a day. You got to dress a certain way. It's all these things you have to do. Christianity doesn't have a lot to do with what to do. It's more like what you're supposed to be thinking. You're saved. That kind of shit. You got to be right with God.
And some denominations even have it where it's like you can do fucked up shit all your life, but as long as you repent and accept Jesus at the end, then it's all good.
You're all forgiven.
Which, that's kind of messed up.
You're forgiven for your sins.
So I'm like, so you're telling me that serial killers that said that they accepted Jesus before they died go to heaven, but somebody that was a good person all their life but didn't believe is still going to hell? Fuck that.
There's all kinds of weird...
Fuck that.
Thanks.
That is messed up. So they were very big on, even though, like I said... Later, when she got called out on this by several, reporters and stuff, she tried to backtrack a little bit. But they were a big advocate of, beating your kids. And one of the things, I don't think she came up with this. She said she didn't, but I don't know if I believe it or not. But that somebody else maybe came up with it. There was kind of a trend for, like, beating your kids with glue sticks, not like the little bitty ones like I have that go in the little bitty glue gun, but like the longer ones you get in craft stores that are like that big, and it really stings. Like so it's like if your kid does something bad, you're supposed to just like beat the shit out of their like arm or leg like with that, so it just stings over and over. And but they used other shit like belts, stuff like that too, and they would do it like if your kid was not being obedient, they basically said just keep like beating the crap out of them until they submit, essentially. And she even said, and there's recordings of her saying this, if they're not scared of a spanking, then you haven't spanked them. So it's like basically you have to do it harder.
You gotta beat the fuck out of them.
Yeah. Like you were just supposed to correct them. And honestly, I looked through some different forums for like people that had left the church and like some people that were telling stories. And like I said, I don't know if some of these are true or not. But one of them said that they had been in the church, they'd been at a picnic with like some other church families, and they're like this baby that was like 6 months old was like on the picnic blanket and just like crawled off the blanket like a baby will do. And it's like, and the dad just like started wailing on the kid for crawling off the blanket, and they're just like, what the fuck? It's a baby.
Wailing on a baby, yeah.
Like for crawling off it was supposed to stay on the blanket, and it's like, and that was like okay. I'm like, fuck that noise. That's fucked up.
Some weird shit.
So, but like I said, I feel like in this cult, like appearance was paramount. So if your children were not obedient, then that was like a ding against you. You were sinful somehow. You got to keep those kids in line. And if you have to beat the fuck out of them, then that's what you do. I want to say too, they were also big on encouraging their followers to stipulate in their wills that if they died, the church would get custody of their kids. Like custody would pass to them, because they understood that, man, if you can indoctrinate children when they're young, a lot of times you have them forever.
What was the church going to do with them?
Continue their bullshit, I guess.
Give them to another church member?
Probably.
They wanted to raise children?
Yeah.
Weird. Why would they care? They're trying to make money.
They
would have given them to somebody else.
That too. Well, yeah, they would have given them to another family in the church. But like I said, more members, more money.
Yeah.
That's probably all they're thinking. I will note too that, so as I said, because women were supposed to be subservient and submissive to their husbands, and even if their husbands were abusive or cheated on them or whatever, you were just supposed to deal with it and suck it up. So divorce was very, very, very much frowned upon. However, it will probably surprise no one to learn that when Gwen herself wanted to divorce her first husband, suddenly divorce was okay.
Yeah, of course.
She even wrote it on the fucking website and stuff like that.
She got a vision from God, said you could do it.
I'll get a little bit more into that in a bit, because that's kind of a funny
story.
They
do that a lot.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. If they didn't have hypocrisy, they would have, like, nothing. That's, like, all they got.
That goes back to Mormonism, Joseph Smith.
Jesus Christ. It's just...
Yeah.
I just love that.
Divorce and marry whoever you want.
Like I said, it's just a very... To me, that is just when... Not specifically Christian, but it's just, like, a very, very... religious,
it's a religious thing
mindset where it's just kind of like, oh, well, no one can do this. Oh, except for me, I can do it because I have special circumstances. But apparently nobody else has those same special. Only you're special and you can do it.
I can marry whatever woman God tells me I can marry. God told me I can marry your wife and your daughter.
Because some of them will do that shit too.
I heard.
Well, God said that I could have yours.
Yeah.
So give them
she didn't
over.
work it out, and your daughter too. I'm gonna marry her also.
Yeah, I mean, God said it. What do you want me to do? It wasn't me. It's not me.
This is God.
God said it.
Yeah.
What, are you gonna go against
God?
God?
Some of those cuck-ass motherfuckers would fall for it. Oh, okay.
Oh, well, I guess if God said so.
Damn. He must have chosen wisely in the cults where that happened. Or like, I can get that dude's wife. Yeah.
I must have seen those dudes coming. There's some suckers, man.
Wow, yeah.
Because I can't imagine what could get me to like buy into anything.
Some people are fucking
like this. I was like, the minute somebody comes at me with some bullshit like that, I'm like, fuck off out my face with that.
Yeah. My wife and my daughter? No,
I don't think so, buddy.
Yeah. Then you ask,
oh, and you want all my money too? Get the fuck out of my
Yeah, and they're like, what? And then you ask the wife, well, what do you say about this, honey? She goes, I don't know. He's the father of the church. He's got to be right.
He says it's okay.
All right, bitch. I'm out of here.
I can't imagine giving
that.
Someone else that much power over your life.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. So it's like, I mean, I know it's easy for us on the outside to just be like, what the fuck were these people thinking? But you know what I mean? I get that, and we've talked about like several cults on this show, so I get that a lot of times it ends up being kind of like, you know, the frog in boiling water situation where it's like at first, Scientology does this too, where it's like at first it seems like it's helping you. It's like, oh, they have all these courses like to teach you how to like manage your finances or do this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, and it seems kind of helpful. And I feel like this is kind of coming at it from the same way. People got into it because it's like, oh, it helped me lose weight. You know what I mean? From like in a religious framework, like cool. And then slowly they start introducing like crazier and crazier shit. And because you were on board with the last thing, you're kind of on board. So it's like a ratcheting up. And then like suddenly you're at this place where, you know, you're beating your kid with a glue stick for crawling off a fucking picnic blanket. And you think that that's okay. You know what I mean? You can't just jump from normal to that. There has to be like a ratcheting up. And I think that like cults are really good at that. Whether they did it very deliberately or whether they just did that accidentally because they, you know, people understood human nature or whatever. But it's like you can't just jump to the crazy straight away. It has to be a lead up. And I think that's what happens too. Like a lot of people get into it and like it at first and it seems normal at first and it seems like, oh, it's a community and all this other stuff. But then shit slowly gets crazier and crazier and you just accept it because each step doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But then like 10 steps later, you're at this fucking crazy place and you're like, how the fuck did we get here? Because it was just a very slow escalation that you didn't really notice when it was happening. And I feel like a lot of cults operate like that. So, and I've said this before, it's like, I don't blame people for getting into cults when they seem normal at first. Like, even if it's just a regular religious group or anything. Even though I wouldn't get into, because I don't really like religion at all. And it's like, I wouldn't get into any kind of group like that. But it's like, I understand some people like that and they need that. So it's like, but if you get into that and everything seems cool and everybody seems chill and everything like that at first, but then like shit just ratchets up with that you noticing. And I also don't blame obviously like kids that were born into it and don't know any better, because I did know when I was working with the Scientology weirdos, you know, it had been around long enough for that point that there were some people that worked there that were like in their late teens, early 20s that had been raised in the church and didn't know any different. And it was freaky. Like they were weird, but they didn't know any different. So it's like, I kind of felt, I mean, they were annoying as fuck, but it's like, I kind of felt sorry for them anyway, because they didn't know any different. Like they'd never really lived in the real world, you know, because everything was so insulated. And I feel like to an extent, this church did that too. Which I feel like a lot of cults do. That's a very, very important thing of cults, and why I call this a cult is because they definitely try to isolate you from the outside world. They
What are you doing?
tried to get people to quit their former churches and join theirs. They didn't want you looking at any kind of media that was critical of the church. They wanted to kind of control what media you saw, that kind of shit. And I feel like as time went on, it got more and more controlling. Like, they started really heavily influencing people's finances, their marriages. They weren't supposed to read or watch any outside media. They could only eat at restaurants that were approved, by the church. They also claimed that all mental illnesses, mental issues were Satan getting into your head, and strongly discouraged taking any kind of medication. There was actually one woman on the documentary who had, I can't remember what, was it bipolar disorder? I can't remember, but she'd been on medication and it was really helping her. And they basically bullied her into getting off it, and she had like a psychotic break, essentially. And so she had to go back on it, but like not tell them. So she had to like sneak it, because because she couldn't really get by without it. But they were very big with that. Like, you don't need food, you don't need all these medications, you don't need this stuff. So like I said, that's very Scientology. Like, Scientology doesn't think you can just talk into a tin can and get rid of your thetans and everything will be okay. It was kind of the same thing. They also again, much like Scientology, kept everybody kind of under surveillance. There was a very big snitch culture. Like, if you were doing something that wasn't approved or wasn't right, everyone was supposed to narc on you. They also demanded access to all your social media if you were allowed to have it at all. One of the women on the documentary even said that she had given like all of her like Facebook and Instagram like passwords and stuff like that to like the church leaders, like it was no big thing. Like, they could just go into her social media and see who she was talking to and all this other kind of shit, which I was like, that's a little scary. And they supposedly had cameras everywhere too, and like watching everybody. But like I said, there was very much a snitch culture, which Scientology is like a lot like that too. Like, you have to tell anybody if somebody's being out ethics.
Yes, rats. We call them rats.
Yeah, same kind of. It was the same kind of thing. But like I said, that's pretty common in cults. They get you, so you can't trust anybody. So if you think somebody's your friend and you're like, man, I got to get out of here, then they're gonna rat on you. Like, you never know. So that's another isolation tactic, because it makes you feel like you can't trust anyone, like you can't have any friends and stuff like that, because they could rat you out.
Yes, to keep everybody on each other's toes.
Yeah, so if you have any doubts about the shit, you can't voice them to anyone. So it's to keep you from getting any help, is what that's for. And like I said, I don't see this mentioned too much, but Remnant had a whole bunch of other businesses, which I think I mentioned earlier: construction, real estate, various other services, like pretty much any service you could think of, like barbers, laundromats, whatever the fuck. They bought a bunch of businesses or had members that they would help them buy those businesses. I think that they're like, so they had them all under this umbrella, like under different names. And I think, which Scientology does that too. So I think the goal was for the cult to be completely self-contained, so that you wouldn't have to go outside of the cult or interact with the outside world for anything. Like, if you just needed to buy a house, oh, well, we have a real estate company. If you needed to get your shingles redone, oh, we have a roofing company. Like, they were striving for that.
Kind of like what the certain Mormon cults do.
Yeah.
Trying to keep everything in house.
Mm-hmm. They were trying to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, they're allowed to do that, obviously, but it's a little weird. And like I said, it's another isolation tactic, because they don't want you interacting with anyone in the quote-unquote outside world, because you might realize that it's like, hey, this is not great.
High Desert asked a long time ago, but what was with the hair? bitch crazy. She's trying to make herself.
Yeah, that's kind of the longest story.
She's trying to make herself look skinny. Put big hair on.
She looked fairly normal in the 90s, I feel. Like I said, the hair was big, but a lot of people's hair was kind of big in the 90s, especially in the evangelical circles.
It's crazy.
But it wasn't, like, crazy big, like later.
Huge hair and high heels. Try to make her look fucking little and skinny and tall. And Jen thinks that's hair. I think it might be, but I think there's big foam padding underneath it.
It's
she's
possible.
Combing over to make it look bigger. Because for that hair to be that tall, it would have to weigh a lot. There'd have to be a lot of hair in there. I don't think it's hair. I think it's some kind of a padding in there with hair over it. Because they used to do that in the 60s to get the big
like
hair
little
look.
foam.
Yeah, foam pad.
Like little kind of round curler type thing.
To give you more mass, you have to spray your hair with a bunch of hairspray to get to do that. Because it's only going to fucking get crunchy and the humidity will get to it. This is in the South. So it's probably...
Her hair did look kind of crunchy.
It's probably a foam pad underneath some fucking teased hair with hairspray.
It's definitely teased.
Yeah.
I will note, too, that Gwen and several ex-followers said this, that they considered Gwen, like, the queen. Like, they thought she was the best. And so all of the shit that she had, like she had a hairdresser that was like that would do it for free. Like everybody would do shit for her for free. She didn't have to pay for anything.
They're just part of her flock, huh?
Yeah.
And they would give her massages and shit. I wonder if anybody rubbed one out on her. Rub her out. Some chick could come in.
I mean, I don't know, but nobody said that, but I wouldn't doubt it.
That'd be awesome.
I mean,
I'd like to get a video of that. That fucking kooky ass hair
with
and shit.
hair,
little skinny legs and shit. Fucking funny, man.
I'm sure there's, you know what? I can virtually guarantee that there is some like evangelical chick porn out there.
Oh, those girls are pie, man.
Of like, well, yeah, or like,
yeah.
Oh my god, now I'm gonna, okay. I probably shouldn't look this up.
Crazy bisexual chicks.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's like I bet somebody somewhere has made some porn of like a Tammy Faye Baker like lookalike.
Yeah.
Because that's somebody's kink.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's a big world.
Yeah.
And Rule 34 still applies. Yeah. If it exists, there is porn of it. So, Tammy Faye Baker existed. This chick existed, so there's porn of it somewhere.
Look, man,
I can almost guarantee it.
Southern evangelical preachers were fucking pervs. All right, they would get caught for all kinds of shit. Male prostitutes, trans prostitutes, little boys. And it's always shit
they were accusing other people
weird shit
of.
They were accusing other people.
And like, we're just over here being regular. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
And I would
we're not doing any of that.
And in some of the newer shit, some of these newer churches, the main dude marries a girl who's been saved and shit. She's hot as fuck because he got her from the fucking porn industry. That is a huge industry of girls leaving porn to become fucking evangelical preachers' wives.
Yep. It's a pipeline.
You think he's not having threesomes and foursomes and shit with the fucking wives? And of course they are.
Why do you think they put on that big show?
But be an adult.
Of being super, and like I said, and accusing other people of being perverts and all this other kind of, because they're doing that shit. Yeah. They're doing that shit.
Yeah, we're all saved. You can go down on me, baby. We're saved. Yeah, fucking and the dude and
I don't trust any motherfucking woman.
The husband and the ex-porn wife and the followers and shit get a big chuckle out of that shit. The fucking girls that they're recruiting in there, hell yeah. And they'll probably break her off some money, or maybe some of them were just naive. This will get you to heaven, baby.
Yeah, I mean that's possible.
This will get you to heaven, baby.
It's possible. What?
I would think that the ones that they recruit for that, though, know better.
You think, but maybe not. Like, there are some, like, kind of naive people out there that, or, that have been through trauma and they don't really know any better. Petite Size Chronic says, beating kids is bad. Okay, yes, it is. Especially fucking 6-month-olds who just crawl off a fucking...
Because it came off the fucking thing. No, that's not...
Blanket. Yeah. Well, they have to obey. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Sounds like my stepdad. Yeah. Granther said, I always considered church to be mind control and bullying. It's because it is. But my parents adored everything, from the hymns to the sermons to the friendships. I always thought Satan, Jesus, Holy Spirit, demons, etc. was a construct, but it was all real as fuck to my parents.
Yeah.
And then he said, every interview I've seen with female porn stars, they all talk about growing up in the church.
Well, not all of them.
I mean, a lot. It's a thing. That's for sure.
A lot of them, like Ryan Connor, was fucking Mormon, and I think because the reason why you see that is because they grew up without any skills and they're kind of isolated. So when they leave those families, they have a tendency to fall to the bottom of society. They can't make a living, and when that happens, a pit gets a hold of them.
Yeah.
And converts them to that. Or the only thing they have going for them, because they don't have any work skills or education if they're coming out of a cult, is their bodies. And some of those cults, they've already been having sex in the cult. So the next step is just to sell it to a stranger. So they come up as hookers. And then somebody gets them, no, man, we'll get you out of the porn industry. You'll make more money that way. So they fall into the sex industry.
Well, and it's easy to see why that happens because, like I said, a lot of them grow up sort of isolated and naive. Like they don't know a lot about the outside world and shit like that. And a lot of them have been abused and exploited in the
church
cult
itself. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, more of the same, I guess. Yeah. When they get out, so it's like sadly like kind of what they're used to. So I can kind of see why that happens. And also, I think that even people that weren't raised in cults per se, but people that were raised in really religious backgrounds, at least as far as I know, like I said, I don't have any personal experience with this because I was not raised like that. But I kind of feel like once they kind of rebel and get out of it, they're like, oh, I'm just going to like go the total opposite direction.
That's what Ryan Connor said. She was tired of being anti-sex. She liked sex.
Yeah, and tired of feeling bad about it, which that's completely understandable. Right. I get it.
Yeah.
If I was raised like that, I probably would have gone hog wild too.
Yeah.
But like I didn't really have to because, like I said, I was never taught that was bad or like I just grew up normal. So,
one of the baddest girls me and Jen have ever experienced was a Muslim from England. That bitch was like worse than any stereotypical Catholic schoolgirl. She tried to fuck everybody she saw.
Pretty much.
Especially if they were old.
I mean, more power to her. That was her thing.
She loved that shit, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm not shaming. I was just kind of like, wow, look at her go.
Fucking crazy.
Like I said, I never would have, and I did some crazy shit, like but nothing like that. Yeah. I was not that crazy.
She real quickly settled down, married a British white guy.
Yeah. Well, she liked older guys. But like I said,
he wasn't that much older, though.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, she kind of had a thing for, like, much older, like old
guys in their 60s.
Guys.
Yeah, she was in the guys.
And she was like 20s.
Yeah, she was like 20.
So I'm talking about like she had like a grandpa kind of thing.
Weird.
Like it wasn't just like older guys like 10 years older. I'm talking like 40 years older.
She was goth. She was a gothic Lolita chick. So she was into the Lolita fetish.
Yeah.
Weird.
Not really my thing.
Her parents didn't want anything to do with her. I don't think though.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't. As long as everyone's adults.
Yeah.
I don't really have. I might side eye you if like it was really. But
she's a trip.
Like I said, as long as everyone's adults, I don't really. It's not my business. So it's like even if I don't like it or I think it's weird or whatever, I'm just like whatever. If you like it, you go to town. So not really my thing. I'm not really into great grandpas, but you know what I mean.
It was weird.
And I wasn't back then either. So it is kind of strange.
She slept with a friend of ours, and when he came back, was that okay? She just laughed. That was the worst ever. And I was just like, yeah, I meant so.
Yeah.
That was fucking funny.
Man, that was like fucking.
Yeah.
And you remember too, like we went out clubbing. Then it was probably stupidly, like we went out clubbing the night before her flight.
Yeah.
And we overslept.
Yeah, that's right.
And we almost didn't get her to the airport in time. Like she got there like just like in the nick of time.
Yeah.
Because we were like, what time is it? Like I set an alarm, but I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that was wild.
That was stupid. Why did we do that? But you know what I mean. But she it was okay.
She was okay. She got married a couple months after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, evidently I still got her on my friends list. Haven't heard from her.
Yeah, I haven't
she's
heard
living
anything from her
a different life now.
But yeah. So they bought all these businesses under this umbrella so they could keep everything in-house, essentially. Because, like I said, this is in Brentwood. It's a very, very wealthy enclave. So I think they were just trying to keep everybody within the same. So whatever you needed, you could just go to somebody else that was in the church that owned a business, and you didn't have to, like, interact with anybody in the outside world, and, you know, perhaps have them tell you that you're in a cult, you know? Also, Gwen's plantation house, which, as I mentioned, was called Ashlon, is also, and probably still is, used as a wedding and event venue. Like, if anybody was getting married in the cult, you got married at Ashlon, at the house. Like, they would set it all up. So that's another kind of source of revenue right there. So like I said, I feel like the whole thing's kind of a very Stepford vibe. A lot of ex-members said, yeah, like, all the women, like, idolized Gwen, wanted to look like her, as hilarious as that is to normal people, because it's like, look at her, for Christ's sake, she looks psychotic. But they all wanted to look like that, and they had a thing too where, like, all the kids would wear these white, kind of old-fashioned, like, Victorian looking clothes. They were big on white, because I guess, like, purity and all of that. And like I said, appearance was kind of paramount. Now, interestingly, here's what... I don't want to talk about the plane crash just yet, because it didn't happen yet. But I kind of wanted to sideline on this, because in the documentary, there was a couple whose teenage daughter, Delaney, ended up joining the cult. And she was actually recruited by her boyfriend. And they didn't disown her. They kept trying to say, it's like, man, we really don't like this shit you're getting involved in, and shit like that. But she was just defiant, and she loved this kid, and I guess she met him at school or whatever, and he, like, suckered her into it, and she just went all in. And interestingly, Delaney and the boyfriend, I can't remember what his name was, but their wedding, which was at Ashlon, coincidentally happened to be the same day as the plane crash happened. And, you know, that killed Gwen and several other church leaders. And they said, actually, her parents were not going to go to the wedding because Gwen was supposed to officiate at first. But then later on, it's like, no, she's not going to be here. Like, she's got some other shit to do. And they said, okay, well, if she's not going to be there, then, you know, we'll go. It'll be fine. And the parents went. And they said it was really weird that nobody wanted to postpone the wedding after the cult members heard about the plane crash, and that they were acting like it hadn't happened. Like, he was like, it was the weirdest shit I ever saw. Like, he's like, this was the same day. Like, that morning, the plane had crashed, and they had heard about it. And, you know, they were like, to their daughter, well, are we going to postpone the wedding? Like, holy crap, like, this happened. And they were like, no, we're going to go ahead with it. And they said everybody just acted like normal, like nothing had happened. And he's like, it was really fucking bizarre. And, like, apparently this is a big thing in the cult. Like I said, you have to be happy at all times to keep up appearances. So you weren't allowed to show any negative emotions. Like, you couldn't show sadness or grief or anything. You had to be, like, happy all the time. And another example of that was that Gwen's daughter, Elizabeth, who runs the church now, her 5-month-old baby, I think he was 5 months old, baby's name was Henley, which was Gwen's maiden name. He died. Now, I can't remember, there's not a lot of information on it. I don't know if it was SIDS or if it was an accident or what it was, but he died. And somebody who left the cult, I actually said they saw the baby. They said the baby was only a few weeks old or a month old, but I saw somewhere else he was 5 months old. I don't know how old the baby was, but he died nonetheless. But it was all kept really, really hush hush. And even after that happened, I mean, her fucking baby died, right? And she acted like no big deal, and like they told everybody not to talk about it, like we're moving on type situation. Like, her and her husband had 4 other kids, like, eventually. And Gwen also seemed to insinuate or say outright that the death of the baby was caused by some sin that one or more of the members had perpetrated. Because he's like, well, of course it couldn't have been my daughter Elizabeth that caused this, so one of you guys must have done it. And, like, they started bringing in, like, other members, like, for family counseling sessions. They would kind of, like, root out, like, who had caused the baby to die. But then, like, nobody was allowed to talk about it. Nobody was allowed to be sad about it. Nobody was allowed to bring it up. It was like a whole thing. And a lot of the ex-members that left said that. It's like you were absolutely not allowed to be sad or grieve or anything. Like, if something bad happened, you just, like, pretended it didn't happen. Like, you had to project happiness. Because she wanted the cult to look good at all times. So you couldn't portray, like, you couldn't show any negative emotions at all, which is messed up.
Yeah, that's some wild shit.
That's messed up. Like I said, your fucking baby dies. I can't imagine what that must have done to that woman.
Yeah.
Like, her baby dies and she's, like, not allowed to talk about it. And then, like, her mom is, like, blaming, like, low-key blaming other church members. Like, what did you guys do?
Yeah.
Like, you guys, God's punishing us. So one of you guys must have done something. It's like, can you fucking imagine? I can't imagine being in this
What happens when you get idiots, and idiots do tend to get a hold of religion. But idiots get a hold of religion. They don't have the context of what the fucking original scriptures were about or the time period. And they just take that shit and run. Well, you did something. It's becomes superstition.
Yeah, and it's like...
Yeah.
Basing your whole entire life on a thousands-year-old book that's not relevant anymore. Yeah. It's like, why would you want to do that to yourself? I don't understand it. Like, if you were raised in it, you don't know any different. I guess it's harder to get out of it, but it's like, why would you willingly do that to yourself?
Fucking some silly shit, man.
It is very silly.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, poor Elizabeth, I do kind of feel bad for her. She's running the church now, supposedly. And she was actually, if you see videos, because her and Michael, Gwen's son, were quite active in the church. Actually, Michael, like, wrote all the music for the church. Like, he wrote musicals and he wrote all the songs and stuff. And he's actually quite a talented musician. He can sing. And so he did that. And then, but Elizabeth, if you see her now, like, she looked normal. She was actually quite a pretty young woman at the beginning. But it seems like, especially I think it escalated after her baby died and she was supposedly, had to tamp all those emotions down because, can't show anybody any sadness. That's sinful, apparently. She started looking real freaky, like, real quick. She very clearly has an eating disorder. She's very, very, very thin, like, freakishly thin. And then she started getting weird plastic surgery. So she has, like, these big cheeks and, like, big weird eyebrows and, like, big lips. It's strange. She doesn't look like a human anymore, to be honest. And it's like, and I feel kind of bad for her because she's clearly not well. And somebody needs to intervene because she's gonna die. Like, she's so skinny that she is just gonna fucking drop dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was a teenager, my cousin had anorexia. She's quite tall. I think she's about 5'10", and she got down to 58 pounds. She looked like a skeleton, and she still would not eat. They had to put her in the hospital and shove a tube up her nose because she would not eat food. And that's what this girl reminds me of seeing her in the hospital. And they told my cousin, it's like, another couple weeks, you would have been dead. You're starving to death. And that still would not make her eat. So, I get it's a mental disorder. But geez, somebody really needs to fucking help this chick out. So yeah. And several other members that eventually wised up and left said the same thing. They're like, look, this belief system, you get in it, it's nice at first. Everyone, like a lot of cults do, they kind of love bomb you at first. It's a really nice community. Everyone's nice and supportive and blah, blah, blah. But as time goes on, everyone's monitoring everybody. There's like, you have to weigh yourself several times a day. If you're not losing any weight, like, they start low-key shaming you. Like, what are you doing wrong? What's your sin? You're not fasting enough. Maybe you should fast. Like, some people fasted like fucking 40 days, like just drinking water, and that was it. And the more weight you lost, even if you were getting to like really unhealthy levels, that was good because you were getting more and more holy the thinner you got.
God damn, they're worshiping anorexia.
Yeah, and it was crazy because this didn't occur to me, but I was reading a bunch about it, and a lot of people said, like, in various comments, like, on documentaries about it and stuff, they said, man, this sounds just like those pro-Ana forums.
Yeah.
You know, girls that
anorexia.
that were, like, you know, advocating anorexia. It's like, this sounds like them. Yeah. And it sounds like people that have eating disorders, like, what their inner thoughts are.
Yeah. That's what it is, probably.
It is, and that's why I said at the beginning I wasn't making a joke when I said Gwen, I believe, started out with maybe a mild-ish eating disorder and then inflicted it
on everybody
on
else.
A whole ass cult.
Yeah.
And made a whole religion out of it, and like it just spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the shit that they believe is like the disordered thinking of people with eating disorders.
Yeah, of a teenage girl with eating
disorders. It's exactly what it is.
In fact, don't want to put teenage girls in charge of any kind of institution. They'll put all their fucking weird ideas will come into that. But an anorexic would be one of the worst possible ones.
Because they don't
put a teenage anybody in charge of a fucking institution.
Grandpa said, "Is your cousin still 58?" Oh no. So that was a long time ago. That was when I was a teenager and she was a teenager. She was 2 years older than me. She's fine now. She's married. She has kids. I mean, she's still thin, but she's regular thin. She's not like skeleton thin. So yeah, she did get better, but it took a long time. I think it was because her mom, her dad, and her sister were all very, very obese. And I think that she just went the opposite direction. Because she wasn't heavy when she was younger. She was just a little chubby. But then, you know, in her teenage years, she just stopped eating and got super, super thin, and then like took it way too far. Yeah. And I would talk to her, and it kind of blew my mind because I didn't really understand how deep this mental illness went. That it's like, as thin as they are, they still, to them, they still look fat. Like, she literally weighed 60 pounds, and she would look in the mirror and be like, look, fat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fat where? There's no fat. It's like, you look like a fucking skeleton. But they can't see that. It's they really can't see it. And that kind of blew my mind. Because I'm looking at her like, you literally look like a skeleton right now. There's no fat anywhere. So yeah, it was kind of crazy. But I feel like that mindset is obviously not healthy, and to turn it into this whole cult like this is, it's not ideal. Not ideal, I'm going to say. Also, I'm going to say, at one point on a TV interview, actually this happened several times, Gwen essentially said that, I don't know if she was implying this is where she got the idea for the diet, but she's like, people in death camps lost weight, all of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're doing the same thing. Like, she said shit like that, and the interviewer was like appalled. Like, you could tell that she said that. Like, did she just say that out loud? And he was basically like, this is not exactly what he said, but similar.
That's crazy.
He's like, did you just make an equivalence between the forced starvation of a whole population and middle-class Americans dieting?
Yeah.
And she basically, kind of defiantly, I'm going to say, because there's video of this.
Yeah.
She said, well, that's what I've been doing for 15 years, and lots of people responded to it.
Damn.
So, like, according to former members of this cult, like, she would say shit like this all the time.
It's crazy.
Like, look at the Jews in the Holocaust. Some of them starved and they survived.
Yeah.
So clearly you can survive on much less food than you think. Like, she used to say shit like that. And apparently she didn't see anything offensive about it, because she said shit like that all the time and kind of casually. Which just kind of shows how much of a bubble she lived in.
Yeah.
Because she was probably saying shit like this all the time and nobody called her out on it. Because when the interviewer rightfully was like, what the fuck you just say? Like, pretty much. Did you just really say that? Like, out loud? Yeah. And she didn't think it was weird at all. I was like, that blew my mind. Like, I was like, are you really comparing, like, a fucking diet to, like, people in fucking concentration camps? That's what she was doing. Yeah. And then she, like, doubled down on it like it was no big.
Ridiculous.
I was like, oh my fucking God, lady. Do you understand what you just fucking said?
Ridiculous.
She did not. She didn't really seem to realize, like, the gravity of, like, what she was saying. Which, that also blew my mind. I'm like, how fucking clueless can you be? It's just, like I said, it just goes to show how much of a bubble she lived in. They also did a similar thing to Scientology, essentially, like, encouraging, and I'm putting that in bunny rabbit ears, the members to pay for and take all of Gwen's courses and, like, buy her books. And her courses, you know, it was, like, on DVDs or whatever, and, you know, not cheap. It was, like, a big whole system. They also fired employees of the Way Down workshop who didn't want to join Remnant. Because I feel like when she first started the church in 1999, because remember, prior to that, she had offices for Way Down, you know, ministries or whatever she called it. So people worked there that were religious, but lots of different denominations. You know what I mean? But when she started the church, she's like, you know, I'm going to need you guys to join my church. And they're just like, nah, I already got a church. And she was like, you're fired. It was that kind of thing. And 5 of them, like actually a bunch of them got fired, but 5 of them got together and sued her for religious discrimination, because they're like, look, they basically fired us because they said, you have to join my church. And when they didn't want to, they got fired. And at least one of these employees stated that Gwen called herself a prophet, even though she always deflected and denied that she thought of herself that way when she was asked directly about it. She's very slippery. Like, there was a newscaster, what was his name? Phil something, in Nashville, who he got onto her case like pretty early, because he's like, what the fuck is this bitch up to? Like, you know what I mean? And he was kind of like following along with the whole thing as it went on, because it was local to him. And I love watching the interviews of him with her, because he does not give her a fucking inch. He will just kind of like just keep hammering at her. And I'm just like, yeah, go. But she just will not answer a fucking direct question. Like, and even when she had to give a deposition, like in a later custody case, which I'll talk about in a little bit, you know, they're asking, well, do you think that you're a prophet? And she'd be like, well, I don't call myself that. I don't give myself a title. I'm just Gwen. Now, other people, depending on what denomination, like, she's this very circular, like, she'll never give a fucking direct answer. Like, you can tell that she clearly thinks of herself that way, but she'll say shit like, well, God has said that some people have gifts, and, you know, some people have said, she won't come out and say, some people call me a prophet, because some people had. It's clear that she believes she is one, but she knows enough to not say it directly, because she knows that might get her in trouble. So it's like she does all these really fucking circuitous, like, kind of shit that she'll say. It's infuriating. Like, I hate that shit. Like, they just ask her a direct question and she just will not answer it. And you can tell that she wants to answer it a certain way, but she's gonna get in trouble. So it's like she has to come up with all these, and it just sounds really wishy-washy, and it just pisses me off a lot. She also claimed on multiple occasions that Remnant Fellowship was not a for-profit enterprise, which, come on now, we didn't all fall off the hay truck yesterday. She specifically said on one of the shows that, I don't make any money off of this. Half the money that we earn goes to the government and half goes right back into the church. However, after the lawsuit, when they went through discovery and she was under oath, she admitted that, because, I guess she was afraid she was going to get in trouble for, like, perjury or whatever, that, yes, it was a for-profit venture, and a lot of the money did go to her and her then-husband, whose name was David. Now, okay, so as far as, is this a cult? I do definitely believe this is a cult. And one of the things that they would use to assess that is something called the BITE model. And it's an acronym, obviously. The B standing for behavior, the I standing for information, the T standing for thought, and the E standing for emotional. All of those being different kinds of control that they do. So people that think this is a cult are pointing out that the B being behavior control, obviously they had super strict rules concerning what you could eat, when you could eat, how much you could eat. Obviously child discipline, that was a big thing, which I would call abuse. What you could do with your finances, who you could associate with, your social media, who you could interact with in the real world, shit like that. You were kind of encouraged to snitch on one another if somebody was, like, using Scientology terms, being out ethics, meaning that you were saying bad shit about Gwen or saying bad shit about the church, like somebody would narc on you. If one spouse left the church, they were encouraged to just, like, let them go and, like, not have any contact with them anymore, which Scientology does also, even though they deny it. That's what they do. The I being information control, obviously they curated all the information. They didn't really just encourage people to look at anything critical of the church. If somebody brought it up, they would just say, fake news or they're persecuting us or whatever. Basically, their tenet was only we have the truth. Everybody else is hypocrites. There was that. I feel like they also did thought control in the sense of being exclusively correct, fostering black and white thinking. And again, a lot of cults do this. If you gained any weight or had any kind of personal struggles with mental illness or anything like that, that was reframed as sinful and you needed to repent somehow. Also, veneration of the leader. That was a big one. A lot of the members did see her as a prophet or a queen or someone they should emulate, and you were not allowed to criticize her at all. Also, like I said, the E being emotional control. They instilled fear into people. Like, if you did something bad, like, you would be ostracized, chucked out, like, you would lose your family. They would do the love bombing thing, like a lot of cults do at first, like, to bring people in, and then, like, if you did something to displease them, then they would shun you. And a lot of people's whole entire jobs, families, livelihoods were tied up within that community. So if you got chucked out, you didn't just lose, friends or whatever, but sometimes you lost your job, like bunch of other things, which, like I said, I think that's why a lot of cults do this kind of shit, like, to isolate everybody into one bubble. We're all in this cult, like, we all work in these cult-owned businesses, so then that encourages people not to leave because you're going to lose your entire life. And that definitely did happen. Now, in 2003, remember how I said that child discipline, let's call it that, was like a big bone of contention. And that kind of came to the media forefront in 2003 because there was a couple that were members of the church. They did not live in Tennessee. They lived in Atlanta. But like I said, they had other churches in and around the South. Their names were Josef and Sonia Smith. And they essentially beat their 8-year-old son, Joseph, to death. Evidently, under advisement from how to discipline their kids from Remnant Church, who, like I said, were very big advocates of beating your kids. So this poor kid died. Now, the parents, thankfully, were convicted in 2007. Felony murder, involuntary manslaughter, cruelty to children, some other charges. Like I said, the kid was 8 years old. And this is kind of upsetting, but the evidence showed that the child had been repeatedly beaten over a long period of time. He basically had bruises of various ages, like, all over his body.
So now it's kind of like a child abuse cult.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's a
diet
and
thing.
Honestly, well, I feel like the diet thing was anything that's kind of like authoritarian like this.
Yeah.
Hierarchical like this, like it's like the man is the head of the family and the woman's under and the children are under and everyone has to obey.
Yeah.
That just leads into this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you believe that you are above your family, then you use any means to keep them in line.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing in this cult. Everybody had to look perfect at all times.
Here's the weird thing, man. What's happening right now in society, you know, there's fucking a bunch of, like, young guys coming up saying that, you know, we need super feminine women that are fucking trad wives and all this kind of shit. Look, man, no. I'm a right-wing fucking radical, okay? You do not want that. You want what fucking Howard was talking about in Conan. Conan's greatest love of his life was fucking Baelit or fucking Valeria. They were equal to him. They were warrior women, the pirates and shit like that. Okay? You don't want a fucking trad wife. Those dudes that had those got bored with those quick. You want a woman you can collaborate with. You don't want a subservient woman. You want a collaborational relationship. Or you just get bored. And then she can't help you. Because what men and women have to offer, they're different skills. It's a different skill set, but they're essential. And that's something with this kind of thinking they don't. Because Jen could come up with shit I never would have thought of. That's like beneficial. But my thing as a man is it's security. You know, physical security. Fucking dude grabs her, I'm fucking on her. You know? We're making money, we're working together. We have different creative styles. I can build motorcycles and machines and shit like that. I can fix stuff. You know, it's just a different skill set. You don't want these fucking subservient women. That's a religious fantasy from 2,000 fucking years ago. It probably didn't work back then. The dudes who were writing that shit were fucked up.
Well, yeah.
Nah.
Women back then probably didn't like it.
Women back then were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
It's like, I will knock you the fuck out.
You want a collaborationist? Fucking, you want to collaborate? And look, these particular doctrines coming out of the Christian Church 2,000 years ago, these were Roman city men with a very Greek influence to them, probably gay, maybe bisexual guys, all right? They're talking about city people. Country people, the women were already kind of liberated. They fucking had to fucking till soil.
Well, everyone had to work.
Everyone had to work.
Because it was a lot of work.
Right. This whole fucking trad wife dominant submission thing is an ancient urban thinking. That wasn't the way it was.
And I don't even think, and honestly, I don't even think it was like that as much as I think people nowadays that want that are looking back at something that never really existed.
It was an idea.
They're looking at something that was like on TV,
yeah,
like or in movies or something. Like, oh, the perfect June Cleaver kind of. She has pearls on and a dress and heels, and she's vacuuming and she looks perfect, and she does
was
everything for you.
though too.
She was, but I'm just saying that's kind of like the ideal that they're looking at, and that didn't really exist to any great degree.
No, that was the U.S. government and the CIA, the early versions of the CIA coming up with that because they were trying to get American veterans. Re-civilize them after killing all those people in Germany and Japan. It's right there written. They're trying to make them family men and working for companies because they were dangerous. But yeah, that shit never existed back then. You wouldn't want it. You'd get bored with it. Unless you were just a very minuscule man with not much of...
Well, I think that goes without saying.
Maybe.
Well, honestly, if you're a nobody and a loser, then it's like, obviously, you want everybody to be beneath you so you can feel like a big fucking man.
Instead of just developing your personality.
Instead of just being a normal-ass person.
Developing your personality in your body and fucking becoming competent.
Because if it... Like I said, it's always like the shitty people that don't have anything to offer on their own that have to put other people down to raise themselves up. So I kind of feel like that's this mentality, like, writ large.
Yeah.
Because, and that's why I don't like any kind of hierarchical anything, because it's just kind of like the second you do that and you start putting, like, people above, men are above women and women are above shit, like, you know what I mean? It just fosters this type of bullshit.
Yeah.
Is what it
Truly
does.
Strong men like competent women. They just do. Gym bros and shit. They like gym girls. Fucking dudes that are ex-soldiers tend to like ex-female women. It just depends, you know, because they have things in common with them.
Yeah.
So you know, Jen was pretty tough though. When I met, she's very creative. Me and her hit it off immediately. We became best friends first and business partners. So we were collaborationists with each other.
Even though, like I said,
before we were even a couple.
In a lot of ways, we're a lot different.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
But it didn't really matter in the end.
No. Yeah, you hear a lot of these girls crying, well, if there's any kind of political differences and stuff, then it's a red flag. No, me and Jen have political differences, but fucking...
Big time.
But that doesn't mean anything. Fucking, we're that doesn't change anything between me and her. Fucking, it's just different viewpoints of the same things, and we're just arguing over leadership decisions and shit. But I'm from the military. I really know that leadership is kind of bullshit anyway. Doesn't matter who's in charge. Hold on. Well, it kind of does, but in other ways it doesn't, because it's too complicated. It goes outside the specs, Michelle. I'll make you another drink.
But yeah, so this poor child, who was 8 years old, they determined from the autopsy that he had been repeatedly beaten with belts, the aforementioned big-ass glue sticks, and also heated coat hangers. Because, you know, why not? The boy's hands had been bound with rope on several occasions. There were marks. You know, some of them were old. And the kid was sometimes locked in a wicker box. Like, they'd put him in this wicker box and, like, tie, like, rope around it so he couldn't get out. Or if he was, quote-unquote, misbehaving, which I'm sure he wasn't doing anything that a regular kid would be doing, they would take all the shit out of his room, like the bed and everything, and they would lock him in the room with only a Bible and a bucket, and they would leave him in there for, like, days at a time. Which, holy fucking CPS, Batman. Like, you would get, rightfully, the authorities called on you. You know? So, they had been doing this to him for a while, apparently thinking this was okay. Because, you know, discipline. So, he ended up dying on October 8th, 2003. And the autopsy, as I mentioned, cited acute and chronic abuse. I believe the last straw reportedly stemmed from them putting him in the wicker box and then slamming the lid down on his head. And this caused, evidently, enough skull trauma that when they later went to get him out of the box, he was unresponsive. And when they took him to the hospital, he died later. So there was, like, you know. But, like, I think they'd done it more than once. But, you know. Here's the stupid thing. That at the trial, the defense tried to claim that the kid had died of eczema. Which I don't think has killed anyone ever, as far as I'm aware. So nice try. Interestingly, too, they had had another son who was a baby, who had died only a few weeks prior of SIDS. And I know babies can die of SIDS. That does happen. But considering how their other son died, now I'm kind of sus about that one too. But as far as I know, they didn't go back and look into it as well. I guess because they were on trial for this one. They're like, all right, we're just going to concentrate on this. And so they went to trial, rightfully so. And the church leadership financially supported them, gave them money for their legal defense. They put up the Smiths Are Innocent website. They also bought the domain name, The Smiths Are Guilty, that would go back to the Smiths Are Innocent website. You know what I mean? So they were thinking that much ahead, anyway, that they bought both domain names. So one could go back to the other one. So they were really trying hard to make it seem as though these parents were just, like, you know, oh, the kid just died of an infection. They weren't abusive or anything like that. So, you know, and they actually, you know, after this happened, I think even before the murder, maybe it was slightly after, but the cops did raid, you know, the fellowship headquarters, and they didn't find anything that would directly implicate the church, but they did find a bunch of recordings because the church recorded everything. Again, that's kind of Scientology like too. And they had some tapes of Sonia, the mom, like calling to talk to Gwen. And basically she was saying, oh, well, we did what you said. Like when he was being bad, like we took all the stuff out of his room and just like left him in there from like Friday night to Monday with nothing in his room except a Bible and like a bucket for him to pee in. Like they didn't give him any food, no water, no nothing. And they left him in there. And, you know, did Gwen say, oh man, don't do that? No, praise the Lord, she said. And when they played her that tape, like remember that that Nashville newscaster that I was talking about earlier that interviewed her all the time and grilled her? He played her that tape. He's like, is that you? Well, that's been doctored. I was like, bullshit, bitch. Bullshit. She was all about it. Like before the kid died. Like, yeah. You know, lock that kid in a room all weekend. Yeah, beat him with a glue stick. Like, that's how they have to obey. It was that kind of shit. And then when they played her the tape, she said she didn't really say that, or it was out of context, or it was doctored, or, oh, well, those are just sound bites. And they're like, yeah, that's your voice though, right? And you could have told her, hey, don't do that. Hey, that's not what I taught. And she didn't say that. She just said, praise the Lord. That's what she said. So they were trying to kind of implicate the church, and it's like, well, you know, that's kind of the argument that the couple was making, was that, well, we were using discipline tactics from the church to discipline their kids, and, you know, it just went that way. But they didn't really have enough evidence to implicate the church, but, I mean, everybody kind of knew. Because they were big time in the church, and they had recordings of them calling her and talking to her and, like, asking for advice, like, how to discipline their kids and whatnot. So the parents actually did end up getting, I believe they both got 30 years for child abuse. And according to many ex-members, even though that was the only kid that died that anybody knows of, it was pretty common that, like, in the church-run nurseries, there were, like, beatings and shit like that. Like, harsh discipline was encouraged. Like, it wasn't seen as bad or weird or anything like that. So, you know, obviously not great. And, so yeah. So there was that whole thing. And then also, obviously, she got, like, a lot of flack for how much she went on about the church being not about lining pocketbooks and blah de blah. Meanwhile, she had, like, all these $1 million houses and this super lavish lifestyle and blah de blah. So in 2018, she married her second husband, Joe Lara. Now, as I mentioned, she had a previous husband who were her grown kids' dad, and his name was David. And they had been married for 40 years. And in the early days of the church, David was pretty visible. Like, he actually helped her initially, like, with the Way Down workshop and all that other kind of stuff. But as the weight loss thing became more focused, people noticed, he started not appearing in public as much. And most people presumed it was because he was fat, so he was making her look bad. So he kind of ran shit from behind the scenes, I suppose. Now, remember how I said that she was super, super anti-divorce. Divorce is a sin. If your husband's a fuck up, you just need to, like, deal with it. You can't leave, all this other kind of stuff. Well, guess what? When she met Joe Lara, who was a former actor, he was like a B-movie actor. He was in Tarzan in Manhattan. I think that's his most well-known movie. And a couple other, kind of, like I said, like B-movie direct-to-video type shit. And kind of a playboy type of dude. When she met him and decided to marry him, all of a sudden, all that shit she had preached about divorce being a sin and yada yada, suddenly that was all out the window. because now she wanted a divorce from her first husband. So again, suddenly it was okay. So she comes out. Now, some members did leave over this. They were at least cognizant enough to be like, well, that's some hypocrisy right there. Like, all these years, you told us to, like, sit in these horrible, miserable marriages and, like, just to suck it up because submissive, yada, yada. But the second you want to marry this hunk of man meat, oh, suddenly it's okay. It's like, yeah, they saw, heard of. Some of them did. But some of them just were like, oh, okay, fair enough. So she basically makes an announcement. Oh, well, divorce is okay. God says divorce is okay, like in some situations, including hers, was the implication there. There was also, they kind of went into this in the documentary a great deal. Joe Lara, the dude she married, he was kind of known as kind of somebody that was after a sugar mama. It was something he'd done before. Like I said, he was an actor. He actually grew up in a very, very wealthy family. And it felt like he was trying to maintain that lifestyle that he was accustomed to without having to have, like, you know, an actual job or anything. So he was in some B movies. He didn't make a shit ton of money. He was, like, back when he was younger, he was, like, a good-looking dude if you're into that type of thing. But he kind of had a reputation for hooking up with usually older women. Like when he was 20s or 30s, he'd always like find somebody in his acting class or something that was like in her 50s but had a lot of money. And he would like woo them so he could like crash at their house. He got with this one woman, I can't remember what her name was. She was fairly well known. I mean, she looked familiar. But he met her in one of his acting classes. And she had money. He moved in with her. And she bought him a Harley. And so he just used to tool around on that. And he wasn't really bringing in any money. He was just like a boy toy type situation.
Why do these dudes always want Harleys?
And
That's
then,
so funny shit.
yeah,
The woman buys him a Harley.
She bought him a Harley.
Yeah, okay.
And, yeah, I just said wasn't the first husband kind of dumpy looking too. Yeah, and I think that's why you didn't really see him much after she started getting some traction and getting... Because I think she thought that he was... They were married for 40 years, but I think she thought that he was making her look bad because he was fat. So, you know, because he was real overweight. So it's like, well, you're kind of cramping my... You're getting in the way of my message because you're not thinness being next to godliness and whatnot. So they kind of kept him under wraps for a long time. And then she just threw him over for this cheese dick motherfucker. And so the funny thing is that, so this woman, fuck man, I can't remember what her name is. She was like I said, she was an actress. Like she looked familiar. I didn't recognize her name, but I'd seen her in some stuff. And they broke up one night. Like apparently he just cheated on everybody because, like I said, he thought he was God's gift, you know. So I think she did, and finally she just kicked him out the house and also set his motorcycle on fire, which I thought was very funny. The one that she had bought him. I was like, man, he probably had that coming. So yeah. But he had, one of his former girlfriends had been a woman named Natasha, who there's quite a long interview with her on the documentary that's on HBO. She actually was a beauty queen from the then named Yugoslavia. And she came here, she won some pageants, and then she was an actress, and she was in a lot of stuff, she was actually quite successful. And they got together, they had a kid together, so there was like a huge custody battle, which after he married Gwen, like Gwen kind of got involved with that shit too. And Joe actually accused Natasha of sexually abusing their kid, like trying to get the kid off her, because once he got in with Gwen in the church, they were trying to, you know, take the kid. I mean, but they investigated Natasha and they didn't find any evidence of that. So, you know, she got custody of the kid back, but it was like a shit show there for a while. But the thing about Natasha was she's like, man, fuck this guy. I'm not going to let them take my fucking kid, which good for her. So she fought it like every step of the way. And she won in the end, and, you know, and now Joe and Gwen are dead. So, you know. So yeah. So yeah, I kind of feel like I want to mention this too, because when she married Joe, which I will note was only 2 months after her divorce from David, her first husband, was finalized. It was, because of course they filmed the whole thing. And of course, knowing what you probably know about Gwen, it had to be like a total Bridezilla moment. Like, it was just completely over the fucking top. Like, this wedding was the craziest shit you've ever seen. It's like huge dress, like fucking all these people, Gregorian chants, sparklers, it was crazy. It was just fucking crazy. And they also did an engagement video, and it's on YouTube, like if you want to look for it. They did an engagement video, which is completely and totally staged, where it's like the two of them like walk into this gazebo at night, and it like has all these fairy lights on it or whatever, and there's like the music. I didn't recognize the music. It's like classical music, but on Fundy Fridays, she said, tell me if you recognize this music. And I was like, God, it sounds kind of familiar, but I couldn't place it. She's like, that's from Shrek. That music is from Shrek. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. So it's like, so the funniest part was that they get in the gazebo and he takes out the ring and she makes a face like in slow motion. And it's just like, and it's obviously set up. Like, she obviously knew that was going to happen, but her just going, oh my God. It was like that. I was like, oh my God, I'm fucking dying. It was hilarious. And it's just like, it's so fucking cheesy. You just will not believe it. Like, I don't understand this fucking Christian entertainment always has to be so fucking performative and silly.
Christians cannot write fucking good entertainment. Very rarely. Very rarely. There's a couple good Christian movies out there. But a lot of times the Christian movies that are good aren't written by Christians. Best Christian movie actually written by the Christian would be fucking Mel Gibson's movie, The fucking Passion of the Christ. It's straight up torture porn.
Because it's like torture porn.
That's exactly what the Christians were looking for. He knew exactly what to give. Now, that was a great movie.
Although
and
Christians
it's a fun movie.
wouldn't actually watch an actual torture porn movie. But
No,
it's
but
like, if it's
that.
Jesus, it's okay.
Yeah, and it's a good movie.
Which is very
It's
silly.
a good movie. It's a good movie. If you're, it's interesting. You know, it's. Oh, I know what's going to happen next. Oh shit.
Not much suspense, I'm gonna say.
No, yeah. But
it's like, oh yeah.
But that is exactly. That's exactly what the
he
Christians.
Gets crucified.
That's exactly
no,
what they were looking for. Yeah. You know.
So, yeah.
And the Jews tearing at their clothes, the priests. Oh, that shit was great, man.
But I
wish I could just tear at my clothes. I'm gonna tear at my robes.
You can. Nobody's stopping you.
Ah.
I'm just gonna say though, like, the best Christian movies are generally made by non-Christians.
Yeah.
Atheists or Jews.
People. Noah. By
That's
Aronofsky.
Who I'm pretty sure is an atheist.
And that's a Jewish movie
or at least
too.
an agnostic.
Yeah, really good. And fucking.
Because we don't have any dog in the fight, like I said, so we don't have an agenda to sell.
That one that had the best one was that Christian horror movie that had the
Frailty.
Frailty. Yeah, great movie. And that's a Christian movie.
That is definitely a Christian horror movie.
The Exorcist is a Christian horror movie.
Yeah, I would call it a Christian horror movie.
Yeah, very good.
One of the best horror movies ever made.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen Frailty, please see it.
Gotta see Frailty. Yeah.
It's really good.
If you're a Christian, you like Christian movies, see fucking Frailty.
Bill
Hell
Paxton.
yeah.
Bill Paxton. He's in it
Bill
and
Paxton.
he directed it.
And he's a Christian.
And he directed it.
He called it. That's how you do it. Lean into that shit.
Yeah.
Demons. Yeah.
And the demons are real.
And the demons were real. He wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Great. It's a great
There it
fucking
is.
movie. Like I said,
Yeah. You can do it.
I'm the atheist,
Yeah.
most atheist that has ever existed, probably. And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm down with that shit.
Yeah. They were like, okay, yeah.
All right.
Very credible.
If it's a good movie, it's a good
Yeah.
movie. I don't, you know what I mean?
And,
I don't give a shit.
And fucking would be canonical. Yeah. Because Jesus was
Yeah.
casting out demons. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus casting out demons and putting them into the pigs and shit. He's just doing it a different way. He's killing them.
I think you can make anything
So you can
into a good story if you approach it from the right angle. I mean, I'm a big advocate of that.
the Old Testament, the New Testament has in the New Testament, if you actually read what it's saying, you read in between the lines. There's two kinds of demons. There's a fallen angel that's on the earth that could be considered a demon, but then there's also spirits of the evil dead that have possessed people. That's a demon. It calls them both a demon, but that's two very different things. So you got a lot to play with there in the horror genre. The evil dead. That one would be kind of like a Christian movie.
I mean, you could argue
spirits
that,
of the evil dead possessing people. And doing shit.
you could argue that any movie that posited that demons were real.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean, you could argue that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get upset about it. But, I think for it to be a Christian movie, I think it has to have an explicitly Christian message, like
Frailty. Yeah.
Like Frailty does,
Yeah.
or even like The Exorcist, where it's like, well, the Christians were obviously the good guys, and the shit that they did worked, and they won.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So, just having something that is in Christian mythology.
Yeah.
Because demons are in other belief systems mythology, too.
Yeah.
So, I don't think
the
that's
greatest one
Christian.
would have been Exorcist, then, under that definition. Good Christian. That would be the best of the Christian horror movies.
Warlight 2 says, have y'all heard of Ammon Hillman? He's a similar cult leader with 47,000 subscribers on YouTube. In fact, he is live streaming right now. His cult is insanely popular. I can't say I've heard of that guy, but I did write it down. So I will look into it, and maybe we can do a show about him.
We forgot the Omen series,
at some point. Oh, yeah.
That's another really good one.
That's
all
also
the
good.
Omen movies.
That's also good.
Yeah.
Gramter says The Apostle with Robert Duvall was the only watchable Christian movie I've seen. Yeah, that not a horror movie, but that is also a good movie.
Good.
That's also a good movie. But yeah, so like I said, I don't understand like why most Christian media or Christian entertainment is just so cringeworthy.
Because they have another agenda.
Yeah,
and the people that gave them the money wanted certain messages to come out, and that's hard to tell a creative story when you have a tight agenda like that.
Whenever,
like I said,
you're like
the
in
best
a little box.
The best one written, performed by Christians, and this and that would have been Frailty. Paxton, Bill Paxton, Frailty. That's a Christian production all around, and credible. You don't have to be a Christian to see it. It's a scary movie.
Yeah, it's great.
Wow. Yeah, he did a good job. Sadly, he's passed now.
Yeah, died way too young.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... But yeah, if you see this engagement video, and the wedding video too, because the wedding's just fucking over the top and crazy. Like I said, it should surprise no one that Gwen's a total bridezilla, and she just wanted everything to be... And like later on, she said too that she didn't really pay for anything at this ridiculously over-the-top lavish wedding, because everybody in the cult was just so willing to step up and like do shit for her for free. She said she thought she paid for the dress, maybe a couple of other things, but that was it. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I'd also like to mention, and this will probably not surprise anyone, that Gwen also pitched a reality show about her and Joe that no network wanted. Not surprising there, because that sounds boring as shit. So they decided they were going to start their own YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel was called Life with Gwen and Joe. And I saw a couple of these videos, and I can see why a network didn't want to take them up on it, because, again, they're boring as shit. Now, I will say that many of Joe's friends, and I can buy this, like just from seeing them in the videos and stuff, that this was just another acting job for Joe. Because his friends, people that knew him from before, were like, he was not religious at all. He did not care about religion. And him just suddenly appearing with Gwen and being all Jesus, this and that, was a little sus. And like I said, he was kind of known for having a history of, like, wanting sugar mamas. So he met Gwen at some kind of... I guess he went to one of their workshops, or... I don't know. It was some kind of like thing where they met each other, and I guess he was just like, ooh, cha-ching. She was older than him, but not much older. I think she was 8 years older, I want to say. Because I think when they died, I think she was 66, and I think he was 58-ish. So, older, but not that much older. Even though he looked considerably younger than her, like in the videos, I thought. But you could tell that he was just like, oh, well, she's got a lot of money, and if I act like I'm into her and I'm super religious and stuff, then I can, have all this fucking money, Now, what happened, though? So they were together for a while. Like I said, some members did leave after the whole, divorce wasn't okay for us. And the funny thing about it was after she married Joe and said, suddenly divorce is okay in some circumstances, a whole bunch of women in the church divorced their husbands because they haven't been allowed to before.
Yeah, like, oh, fuck it.
And they're like, oh, okay, now it's okay. I can finally get away from this motherfucker.
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
That's funny.
So there was like a trend
Yeah.
where like a bunch of them, either because they were like, finally I can get away from this
They were free
abuser
to
or
leave,
whatever,
yeah.
or they were emulating Gwen. I guess it could have been
Both.
a little bit of both.
Probably both.
But it's just funny
They just
that
didn't
there
like
was,
them dudes.
that there was just like a trend where after she
Yeah.
said divorce was okay, like in some sort,
Yeah.
they were like, okay, thank God, I'm out of here. So then came the fateful day of May 29th, 2021. So Gwen gets on a 1982 Cessna 501, little private plane, at Smyrna Rutherford County Airport in Tennessee. With her was Joe Lara, her husband. He was thought to be flying the plane. He did have a pilot's license, but I will note that he hadn't flown much for a while. He actually got his pilot's license when he was quite young. So I think he might have been a little rusty. Also, I will note that you're supposed to have like a medical certificate that gets updated, I think, every 2 years or something like that. And he had one of those, but it had expired and he hadn't updated it recently. So I'm just saying that. Other people on the plane were other church leaders, Jennifer Martin and David Martin, couple, Jessica Walters and Jonathan Walters, and Brandon Hanna, who was Gwen's son-in-law, so her daughter Elizabeth's husband. They were on the plane flying from Tennessee to Florida to go to a Trump rally. And not long after it took off, it basically plunged straight down into Percy Priest Lake, immediately killing all 7 people aboard. Now, after the investigation, the overriding theory was what probably happened was that the cause was probably not mechanical failure. It was probably spatial disorientation. They said the weather was kind of cloudy, foggy, hazy that day. And you would have had to navigate by instruments alone because the visibility was bad. And because Joe, the pilot, maybe was kind of rusty because he hadn't flown in a while. Maybe he wasn't used to or got disoriented. Like, it's easy to happen, like in small planes like that, when you can't see anything in the sky. So they speculated maybe that happened. There's also speculation, which is kind of ironic considering the whole weight loss thing, is that the plane may have been overweight, which may have caused that, like, there was maybe too many people on it.
Too much luggage.
Too many people on it or too much stuff on it.
Yeah.
I've also seen a couple people throwing around the hypothesis that the crash was a deliberate murder-suicide. That Joe was probably like, fuck this, I'm just gonna... Because there was a fisherman on the lake at the time. And he said the plane basically just went nose down, like right into the water. It was like, I think it was eight feet of water.
Yeah.
So it's like... Because they showed, on a documentary that I saw, they showed, like, when they lost radio contact. And it was a while, because they were, like, calling them. They, calling Joe to, like, talk to him. And he was talking to him at first, and everything seemed fine. Like, they, nothing was wrong. He was just saying regular shit. And then all of a sudden, they asked him some shit, and then there was no answer. And then they kept being like, hey, whatever the plane number was. They're like, hey, what's up, or whatever. And nobody said anything. And then all of a sudden, like a few minutes later, they just plunged down into the lake, like, suddenly. Now, do I think it was a murder-suicide? Probably not. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. But it is weird how the plane just kind of, like, fucking went nose down into the... Like, he did it deliberately, but... I don't know. It could have been just that he, like I said, if you're in a little plane and it's just clouds and you can't see, it's very easy to become disoriented about what direction you're going. So it could have been just because he hadn't flown in a long time and he...
Well, you got instruments.
Yeah.
You know the horizon.
That's true.
May have been. The guy might be calling it. Maybe somebody just float
I have heard a couple
ground.
people say that maybe he did it on purpose.
Yeah. They might have been fighting in there.
Like he was just sick of it.
Fighting over something.
Like he didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Which, because like I said, kind of makes sense with the whole, because everybody thinks that he was just like performing like for the money. You know what I mean? Like it, and even if you see like, because there's lots of video clips, and even one of the documentaries had like some footage from the reality show that they were trying to pitch, and it's like just the whole thing is just so fake. Like it just seems so performative and just so.
If he did it,
It's so creepy.
There was a reason, a personal reason, and they were fighting in there over it. She might have been cheating on him or something. Or maybe he was cheating on her. Well, no,
I mean, that seems more likely.
If he was cheating on her, he just would have wanted to leave alive and go off with a new woman.
Yeah, because I mean, he had done that before a lot of times.
Maybe she was getting ready to divorce his ass.
Yeah, it could have been a lot of things.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot of things. Here's the weird thing. So, remember, like, after the plane crashed, and they pretty much, because someone saw it, and, like, they figured out pretty quickly, like, you know, because the flight path and everything, like, what plane it was and who was on it. And weirdly, Elizabeth, the daughter, she sent a text to all of the Remnant followers after the crash. And it said that the plane had to make what she called a quick, controlled landing. And to like pray for them. We don't know what's going on. So I don't know if she just hadn't been informed that the plane had crashed and they were dead, or if she was in denial, or what. It was a really weird message.
Maybe she got misinformation.
It could have been like, because a lot of people have been like, man, that's fucking weird. But I was like, well, maybe she just didn't know yet. Yeah. I don't know, or I don't know. Because I thought that they would have said.
They had cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she got a call.
Yeah, it's 2021.
So we're trying to maybe she got a call and says we're going to try to make a landing here in a minute. But she didn't. Did she testify?
No.
So nothing. There was nothing in the
no, not that I ever saw.
Huh.
And the thing about
be strange because if she got a call from them, you'd think that'd be part of the record.
Yeah.
They called me at such and such time. Here's the fucking call.
No, I don't think they called her.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what's weird. I mean, the authorities likely called her, but I think that at that point they already knew that it was very unlikely that anybody was still alive.
Maybe
and you'd think they would have told her that. And yeah, I was thinking either she was in denial or she was trying to smooth everything over for the other people.
They didn't have the plane and they didn't have the bodies yet, so to smooth it over, she gave a cover story. They're trying to make a quick landing. We'll see what's happening.
Yeah, it might have been that.
Something like that.
And like I said, that girl that was in the cult whose parents were on the documentary, like her wedding was that day, and they just went ahead with it even after they found out, and they were like, it was really weird because like nobody talked about it and like they acted like it didn't happen, which I was like, that's bizarro. Okay, they thought it was really weird. I think it's weird too. So after the death of, you know, Gwen and Joe and 5 other people that were like leaders in the church, Elizabeth took over. Now, Michael, who had actually been kind of in and out of the church for a few years prior to this, he had a very contentious relationship, I feel like, with his mom. Like I said, he was all in. He's in all the old videos and everything like that. Like I said, he used to write all the music for the church. He wrote a whole ass musical, which he called a viewsical for some reason, because you're viewing it. I'm like, yeah, but you're viewing any musical, so why? I don't understand why he had to come up with a whole other name for it, but whatever. So he used to perform to the church he was in on all the videos and everything. But as time went on, it seemed like he was becoming like disenfranchised with it a bit, and he would leave. It seemed like he was having some struggles with alcoholism, drug use. He was married and had a kid inside the church, but it seems like he was, you know, really kind of not down with that either. According to one girl who testified in the documentary, like, you couldn't see her, she kept her face blacked out, but she said she had an affair with him and that he would come there and he was drunk all the time. And she said that he told her that he used to go and shoot at the church at night because of the thing. And here's the thing too, is that even when he was still in the church and was still talking to his mom and stuff, whenever, because he was thin most of the videos, but his weight kind of went up, it like yo-yoed, like went up and down. And whenever he gained some weight or got a little bit chubby, like basically his mom would like hide him, like he wouldn't be able to come out, and that seemed to like fuck him up. And he would go off on like 3-day benders Like, he would come back and they said he looked like he'd been sleeping in the street for 3 days and his eyes were all bloodshot and shit like that. So he was, like, having some issues. He eventually did leave the church. His wife and daughter are still in there. And he also later criticized the group very harshly. There's videos of him. There's interviews with him on YouTube. He seems to have a lot of anger. He has a very large arsenal of weapons. And he's very edgelordy about it, gonna say. He claims that the church members constantly watch him, which honestly he's probably not wrong about. There was a part in this documentary where he got interviewed by this journalist, and he was just driving the journalist past the church because the journalist was going to try and... He said, I'm just going to go and see if I can join it. You know what I mean? Like, and see what happens. And there was a guy, like, on a riding lawnmower, and he was clearly, like, tracking them. He's like, because he recognized the car. So I don't think the dude's being completely paranoid because, like Scientology, like, once you get out, like, they still keep watching you. So I don't think he's that crazy about that. He also said he had this woman that was a stalker. She's in prison, but she had sent him, like, 30-page letters about how much she loved him and all this other kind of stuff. It was pretty creepy, but she eventually got put in prison. One thing about it, though, as will be evident if you watch these interviews with him, is that he has developed, I guess understandably, a seething hatred of women in general. So much so that he really sounds like some Elliot Rodger shit. I'm just saying. And he makes a point of, like, saying to it a few times. He's like, well, this cult, like this, because he calls it a cult, which it is. It was all women. It's formed by women, and he calls it, like, witchcraft and, like, all this other kind of stuff. So it's very, very misogynistic, like the stuff that he says.
But is this all women outside the cult?
It seemed like he was implying that too. It did seem like he was implying that.
No, I gotta agree. These women in the cult were fucking crazy. The women running it, and then
the dudes running it were crazy too.
Yeah,
there were also
crazy.
dudes running it.
They're all crazy.
But the fact that he just singled out the women, he has some issues with women, is what I'm saying.
I guess he thought the women were the masterminds behind it. That's how he.
And that came from his mom.
Yeah.
Which I get it. His mom's a psycho.
Yeah.
But it's like you can't extrapolate that to all women that are not in that cult.
You're right.
Because it's like they're nuts. You know what I mean? You can't, like, generalize that across everybody. But also gonna say he gained a lot of weight. And considering how much eating disorders are kind of encouraged in the cult, I'm gonna say that does not surprise me. It feels like he just went the complete opposite direction. Because, like I said, even when he was in the church, you could tell in some of the videos, like, he looked slightly... I mean, he was pretty thin in most of them, but a couple of them you could tell he was getting a little chubby. And evidently, like, his mom would be like, well, you can't be on stage or you can't sing your songs or whatever because you're getting fat. And so that fucked with him. So now that he's out, he's gained quite a bit of weight. Like, he is quite overweight. Which, like I said... not shaming him, I'm just saying I understand, like, how that could happen. He just went in the total opposite direction. I honestly, if he wants to bring down the church, more power to him. You know what I mean? I think he can do that, but he's got some issues that he needs to work through first. He's very, very angry, and he's very, very bitter. And he needs to get over that all women suck thing that he has going on, because that's a little disturbing. So I understand why he is the way he is, but I endorse bringing down cults always, but it's still, like, a little, I don't know, it's just a little upsetting. And like I said, I think the same thing happened with Elizabeth, but she stayed in the cult and just went all in. And she is, like, it's really creepy because if you watch her speaking, she sounds just like her mom, and all her gestures are just like her mom. But the thing about it is that since Gwen died and Elizabeth, quote unquote, took over, most of the church members, and I looked at a bunch of stuff of like members that had gotten out, and they said since Gwen died, it's like I don't know if I'd say it's falling apart, but it's like a lot less than it was. And it's like Elizabeth, even though she's ostensibly running it now, it's like she very rarely comes out in person and does sermons or whatever. It's like usually they're just replaying like Gwen's sermons like on videotape or whatever. So it's like she doesn't come out much. So they kind of feel like a lot of people are leaving, and it's, and it's not doing that good. But I don't really know. Like I said, I'm not really inside. Interestingly, after her death, both Michael and Elizabeth inherited pretty much all of her money. Even though her and Michael had a contentious relationship, but I don't think he really broke with the church for good until after his mom died. So she left him and Elizabeth all the money. Now, she had claimed before that she was going to leave all her money to the church, but she didn't. She didn't even mention Remnant in her will. Now, reportedly, she did gift the Remnant property, the 40 acres in the building, and her publishing rights to the church. That is worth about $10 million, thereabouts. But this happened like several years before her death. It wasn't actually a stipulation of her will. Interestingly, too, she also put a bunch of her properties, including Ashlawn, her plantation house, into trusts after she married Joe, which essentially hides the true ownership of the properties, is what that does. So she had a house, she had a beach house in Destin, Florida. She had a bunch of farmland in Tennessee somewhere. She had like a bunch of properties, and she put them all in trust so that, like, I don't know if that's so Joe wouldn't get his grubby mitts on him. I don't really know why she did that. But yeah, she did that after they got married. Ironically, at the time that she died in the plane crash, she was working on a new video series that was specifically about greed and how money shouldn't be hoarded or clung to, and how so many other churches, not this one, of course, are all about lining their pocketbooks.
Yeah.
Not even going to comment on that.
Okay.
Not even going to comment on that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that about 2 months before she married Joe, like when her divorce from her first husband David was final, the divorce papers, which are public record, obviously, showed how the couple had divided up 18 properties that they owned, which were worth about $20 million altogether. So somebody's hoarding some shit. That's all I'm saying. So yeah.
Read the comment in there.
What?
In there by A Better Day. It says, the higher the hair, the closer to God. Yeah.
That's a saying for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I said, I kind of feel like in her case, one, I think it was a symptom of her worsening psychosis, but also because she thought that it would make her body look smaller by comparison.
Yeah. Make her look skinny.
I think she was already skinny. She didn't need big hair to make her look skinny. She was already skinny. But like I said, if you see videos of her, because she was on TV and shit in the 90s, and she just had just regular big hair, like that you wouldn't even comment on back then.
I don't know why she thought big hair would make you look skinny, because there were plenty of big girls back in the fucking 80s and the 90s that had big hair, and they just looked bigger.
Yeah, because I feel like, everything's big.
Yeah, and everything's just so big. You look like a big turtle. A big bipedal turtle.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I guess it might make a skinnier woman look smaller. Maybe. Because her head looks bigger. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe she's just hoping nobody will notice her body at all because everyone's just focusing on the hair.
She crazy. That bitch crazy.
I think we're trying to apply logic to something that is not steeped in logic at all.
If I saw a woman with hair like that, I would just think she was crazy.
Well, and I'm sure 99 times out of 100 you'd be correct.
Yeah, especially if he was low income. If it was a low income woman with hair like that bitch crazy.
Well, like I said,
give her a higher income, then you might be able to say she got a bad designer. Her hairstylist is.
Her hairstylist hates her.
What the fuck is going on?
And is being
with this
passive
chick,
aggressive.
But then you get to know her and you go, oh, okay. Bitch crazy.
Now I understand.
Bitch crazy. Yeah.
Well, I feel like in the evangelical subculture, if you want to call it that, this is definitely a look. Because she's not the only one that I've seen that looks like this.
They might have been copying her.
Yeah, but I've seen some ones from the 80s.
Okay.
So it's definitely a thing.
She might have been hearkening back to fucking preachers of yesteryear.
I never understood it. I can't remember. What's that one bitch's name that had like this crazy big, and I think it was pink too.
I don't know.
It wasn't Tammy Faye. There was another one. But there was another one that had crazy hair like that.
Poor Tammy Faye, for a while there, Tammy Faye was quite cute. But she just got more and more ridiculous with the fucking eyeliner and the fucking weight and the lips and shit. Just got, just...
Well, and I think this applies in this situation too.
They got more and more extreme as time went on.
When you're in this evangelical bubble...
Yeah.
And she only associated with people in the cult of the same belief system as her, shit like that. And they kind of have their own norms. And if you don't have much interaction with the outside world, you don't understand like how weird those norms look to other people.
Yeah. Her husband was a real shitheel. But from my memory, actually, Tammy was actually nice. She was actually trying to help people. But she was crazy.
Have we ever done a show about them? Because we should.
I think we did.
Did we?
I think we did, yeah.
From
what I remember, Tammy was actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
But she tried to help a lot of people and reverse a lot of stuff. And she wasn't quite as greedy as her husband. But you have to have, still, those empires are fucking quite fragile. And they're built upon a grift, They're grifting.
Well, yeah.
Telephone grifting.
This one was just different
by
virtue of it, like, coming at it from an eating disorder angle, which that's new. I get where it was coming from. Like, I get where the justification was coming from.
Yeah.
But I guess it was a different enough approach that it got people's attention. And weight loss is always something that you can make money off of because, everybody wants to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
And everybody wants an easy way to do it, even though there's really not. So she was just kind of taking advantage of that, just sprinkling some God on top.
Yeah.
And then obviously it just got a little out of hand.
Yeah.
And then like a kid ended up dead.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The funny thing, and I know they always say you shouldn't speak ill of the dead and blah, 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 but it's like, I don't know. I think that's bullshit because if the person was a piece of shit when they were alive, I think you should still be able to call them a piece of shit after them being dead doesn't like make them any more virtuous than they are when they were alive. You know what I mean?
She was just not a very intelligent woman.
It's terrible that the other people that were on the plane like had kids and families, and that sucks. You know what I mean? That sucks for them. It's like I don't want to minimize it in that way, but it's like honestly, she was kind of a shitty person, and I kind of feel like she talked so much about God's punishing us for this and that. I'm like, bitch, God smacked your plane out the sky if God existed, which he doesn't. But it's like, if God existed, he smacked your plane out the sky. Like, what did y'all do? Like, that is God's hand right there in y'all's belief system. Yeah. Like, did any other cult members think, man, maybe what we're doing isn't good because look what God did to them. Yeah. He smacked their plane right out the sky. It can't get much clearer than that, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying. Like I said, it was just an accident, obviously. But I feel like at least one of them should have thought to frame it that way. I would think.
All right, so is this the end of the case?
I reckon so. But yeah, so as far as I know, I mean, the church is still active. Yeah. Elizabeth is still nominally running it. I don't know how many members they have or how active it is anymore.
Cults always die. They don't last long. 30, 40 years. That's usually what it is.
But we'll see.
Scientology, one of the longest lasting ones, actually.
I can't believe that shit's still around.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. They're not growing, though. They're shrinking.
Wacky as that is.
Usually they just dwindle away.
Yeah, I mean, people just lose interest after a while.
They die out. They age out. Shit.
Yeah, which, man, Scientology can't die out fast enough, but...
Well, they own all that property. They're not going to go anywhere.
That's true.
Not in our lifetime.
Probably not.
It'll just get smaller and smaller. And more empty. And they'll probably have more and more properties, or they'll just keep those properties. They'll start selling them off, and they're still selling them off for the next 100 years to stay together. And there's like 10 guys that run that whole empire, and they just have all this property. And when they need money, they just sell off a fucking building. They turned it into a fucking real estate scam.
Well, yeah. Have you seen that lately? There's been kind of like a trend lately on, I think it's on TikTok, where people are trying to like see how far they can get into the Scientology orgs before they get caught.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing. Yeah. Like, I don't know how widespread it is, but I've seen it like around that there's like a little bit of a trend for it, like people trying to get in and like see how far they can get in before they get busted.
They're doing urban exploration.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. But yeah, don't join Scientology, please.
Yeah.
Actually, don't join any cult.
Well, you can't just join Scientology unless you have money. If you don't have any money, they won't want you.
They don't want you.
Yeah. They don't want anybody poor.
That's true. I kind of feel like a lot of cults don't. Well, unless you have some ass to sell.
Yeah.
Then they'll take you.
Yeah. They'll take you if you want to sell some ass, or if you want to enslave yourself in the Sea Org. They'll just work you to death, or a fucking flag base.
Yeah, if you want to be, if being a slave sounds like fun.
Yeah, then you can go join.
Then sure, knock yourself out.
If you don't have any money, you can become a slave.
Yeah. Woo.
But if you have money,
sounds like a good time.
If you don't have money, you can't join the Church of Scientology because they want everything you own.
Yep.
And they'll eventually take it from you.
Yep.
Through your credit cards and shit.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, similar thing going on here, but slightly different, but a lot of the same tactics. Like I said, you kind of see the same tactics showing up again and again in cults. All right, so it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, get some sleep.
We're gonna shut it down. My voice is getting all fucked up again. I hope you didn't get me sick again.
No, you just I don't know what it is. Just got
I don't know what it is.
Got a cold coming. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you do have that.
Yeah, I usually never get sick. I don't know what the deal is. Someone's got some fucking germs around here. That's all I'm saying. Not me. All right, so we're going to wrap it up for this evening. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. This was actually a really good topic to do a deep dive on. I went down so many rabbit holes with this fucking crazy bitch. But you know what I mean. It was a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys had fun too. We'll be back again for the Sidetrack show on Friday night. It will be a short one because we're doing the Abyss Halfway to Halloween party on Friday night. So, but we'll come on for like an hour or something like that before that, and hang out with you guys for a little bit before we go out. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. Have a good rest of your evening. Have a good day tomorrow, and we'll see you guys again on Friday night. Good night.